I was cursed to never die. But it is not immortality. But every time he dies, he is reborn with his memories. But he could only reincarnate as his own descendant. This also led me to reincarnate multiple times as my own grandson. Facing the man holding me in front of me, I don't know if I should call him son or dad. I'm tired of this cycle of reincarnation. So I tried to live longer, to escape this painful eternal life. But on my path to seeking longevity, but uncovered a shocking secret. That is, in this world one can cultivate immortality. However, this life came to an end, but this time I no longer fear reincarnation. Instead, they are full of anticipation. Reborn again, I became the son of my grandson from a previous life, with a blessing of memories from his previous life. I advanced to an innate martial artist at 30, but martial arts ultimately only strengthened the body. So I eagerly sought out methods of cultivation. But he learned that cultivating immortality required a spiritual root to practice. But only cultivation families produce those with spiritual roots, and mortals can only remain mortals generation after generation. I am not willing. Why should only immortals invite the world to roam? But we mortals can only be frogs at the bottom of a well. So I came up with a bold plan. This is to marry with the children of cultivation families. This caused his own family to develop a spiritual root constitution. That way I can use this rebirth curse to embark on the path of cultivation. But with these challenges, also came their challenges. Cultivators often only unite with other cultivators. Cultivation families only intermarried with cultivation families. A mortal family wants to marry the children of a cultivation family. It's just wishful thinking. I tried my best. Not only did he offer up most of his family fortune, he even voluntarily signed a 20-year contract to sell himself. Only then did the Chen family agree. He sent a collateral daughter to marry Zhao Mingcheng, the eldest grandson. At this point, my lifespan was about to come to an end, so I handed the entire family over to Zhangsun Zhao Mingcheng. After this lifetime ended, I received 2 awards. They were the mortal level Baishu body and the light swallow body. Unfortunately, he still couldn't extract the spiritual root constitution. To reincarnation, I'm already the 11th generation of the Zhao family. In this life, my name is Zhao Jiqin. This time, the Zhao family not only did not fall into decline, it has grown into a large family with over 1,000 members. The family business is spread throughout Ganzhou. It is also a renowned martial arts family in Ganzhou. I walked over to the grooming mirror. In the mirror was a 6-foot-tall, elegant young man. He was extremely handsome. This is good. That should be enough to hook up with a young lady from a cultivation family. That's right. My goal in this life is to marry someone, even several women from cultivation families. Nor did a single descendant with a spiritual root be born. I vowed to have as many children as possible. I don't believe that in the end, no descendants with spiritual roots will be born. Although he had been reincarnated, but I haven't forgotten the experience I gained from martial arts all my life. After only a few dozen rehearsals, he mastered the floating light sword technique. He mastered 2 martial arts with Yunlong's 3 transformations to perfection. My martial arts experience, I quickly became the young master of the family. Moreover, at just 18, he reached the realm of a first-class martial artist. After much inquiry, I also discovered traces of cultivators. Located 50 li south of Suling City, there is a mysterious canyon called Fanjun Valley. This place is shrouded in thick fog year-round. Occasionally immortals could be seen flying down from the sky into the valley. Most likely it was the headquarters of the Wang family, a cultivation family. 3 days later, a time-honored brand in Linchen powder shop and Xinxiang restaurant quietly changed owners. 10 days later, the fragrance pavilion launched a new product called perfume. The debut of the perfume quickly caused a sensation. All the female guests who tried it, none failed to be intoxicated by it. They all became die-hard perfume fans. However, very few female customers could afford perfume, because it's just too expensive. Small bottle costs 20 taels of silver. There is no woman who doesn't love beauty. Likewise, very few women can resist the allure of perfume. If we're talking about women from cultivation families, how is it different from ordinary women? 3 words can describe it. That is, money is not an issue, so I deliberately set the perfume price extremely high. This makes it easier to filter out self-proclaimed individuals. A month later, the new manager of Zhengxiang Pavilion, Xiao Zanchong, was reporting to me on the recent days. Targets number 1 and number 2 are the most close. This is already the 3rd time I've come to buy perfume. The 2 of them also claim to have the surname Wang. Therefore, I believe these 2 are very likely members of the Wang family. These 2 women were practically treating silver as if it were money. His spending was shockingly generous. Every time she visits, she won't stop until she sweeps away all the perfume. After hearing this, I felt it was just right. So I decided to start the second step. Then he looked up. Wait until they come next time. Just spread the news about the new perfume variety. And so on. 3 days later, a carriage was carried by 4 tall horses. The luxurious carriage they were pulling slowly stopped at the entrance of the Zhenxiang Pavilion. 2 young girls in their youthful years stepped out of the carriage. One dressed in red. Oval face. The facial features are exquisite. The other wore a sky blue dress. Figure is hot. Her face was cold and beautiful. Xiao Zanchong guessed right. Both of these women were members of the Wang family of Fanjin Valley. The woman in red was named Wang Yuya. The one in the blue dress is named Wang Yuqi. The 2 are half-sisters sharing the same father. As soon as she entered, Wang Yuyan pointed out that she wanted to buy perfume. Upon seeing the 2, Xiao Sanchong immediately cupped his fists and saluted. 2 distinguished guests. I am the manager of Zhengxiang Hall. It's really hugging. The shop's perfume had just sold out, temporarily out of stock. Upon hearing this, Wang Yuyan immediately raised her eyebrows and shouted coquettishly, "Shopkeepers, we are not short of silver. Don't fool me. Miss, the perfume really sold out." But what? Wang Yuqi immediately chimed in. Xiao Zanchong deliberately hesitated for a moment. It wasn't until the 2 were about to urge him that he hesitated and said, "The shop actually has a unique perfume in the world. However, It is not for sale. Wang Yuyan gave a cold smile. There is simply no such thing as a non-sale item in the world. The only question is whether there is enough silver. It's not a coincidence. The last thing we lacked was silver. Shopkeeper, please name your price. Zhao Sanshong listened to the whole face. In an instant he turned bitter, repeatedly bowing and clasping his fists, begging for mercy. This young lady, you have wronged me, little old man. My young master repeatedly reminded me solemnly. That kind of perfume is only given to those destined to be found. It cannot be taken out for sale. Woman's curiosity is sometimes greater than a cat's. Zhao Sanshong said this. Wang Yuqi's curiosity piqued, so she immediately asked, who is your young master? Why did he say that? Zhao Sanshong said proudly, my young master comes from the Zhao family of Nenyang. Not only was he exceptionally intelligent, but he was also skilled in both civil and military affairs. He can be called a genius. Wang Yuyan didn't care about Zhao Sanshong's words. Even if the young master he spoke of was a prodigy, so what? He was just a mere mortal. How could he compare to a cultivator? Wang Yuyan asked. Your young master says perfume is only for those destined to be gifted. Then do you think the two of us look like destined people? Zhao Sanshong was overjoyed upon hearing this. He hurriedly suppressed his excitement and pretended to be troubled as he spoke. Honored guest, please make it difficult for this old man. How could I know who the destined person the young master mentions is? Cast a mist before somebody's eyes. Where is your young master? Take us to see him immediately. Wang Yuqi, inexperienced in the world, eagerly slipped into the trap. 15 minutes later, under Zhao Sanshong's leadership, the group arrived at a refined and elegant courtyard. He hadn't even stepped into the courtyard yet. The Wang sisters then heard the sound of a zither coming from the backyard. Sound of the chin sometimes sounds majestic and natural. The rise and fall of the count are like towering mountains. At times the waterfall winds gently, gentle as flowing water. The meaning is endless. Listening to such a graceful zither tune, the Wang sisters couldn't help but immerse themselves in the music. After a while, it's until the music gradually fades and fades away. Only then did the Wang sisters suddenly come to their senses. Quick, take us to meet your young master. Chu Yuqi hurriedly urged after sobering up. Wang Yuyan, standing beside her, didn't say anything, but from his expectant expression you can also see a bit of thought. Zhao Sanshong immediately led the two into the courtyard. Passing through the front hall, after walking through another section of corridors, the group turned into a garden with artificial hills and flowing water. Under the octagonal pavilion in the center of the garden, one had a face like jade, calm and radiant with an elegant and graceful temperament. The outstanding young man in white sat upright behind the music table. He was bowing his head and slowly tuning a guqin. I painstakingly laid out the grand plan for the Wang sisters. It worked wonders right from the start. Fragrancy is like cardamom. Tell me which woman does not long for spring. Even though he knew the person before him was just a mortal, Wang sisters couldn't help but feel a bit tempted. I paused slightly and asked in a deep voice, Shopkeeper Zhao, who are they? Why did you bring me to see you? According to the script, Zhao Sanshong introduced the purpose of the Wang family members' visit to me, and naturally the topic of perfume and destined people is brought up. After hearing Zhao Sanshong's words, only then did I smile, and my attitude softened. He pointed to several meditation cushions beside the music table. Honored guests, please have a seat. Wang Yuyan said very directly, today we are here for that kind of one-of-a-kind perfume. Young Master Zhao once said this perfume is only for those destined to be gifted. I don't know what kind of person you mean by destined person. After hearing this I was silent for a moment. Then in a low voice he said to the two of them, it tells a tragic love story. This story was told by a past life like the Magpie Bridge meeting. It is adapted from famous love stories such as Liangshan Marsh and Zhu Yingtai. It tells the story of a poor boy falling in love with a wealthy heiress. In the end, the daughter's father tears her apart. After being humiliated, the poor boy worked hard to train in martial arts and eventually became a master of the innate era. But that wealthy heiress was forced to marry into a prestigious family. From then on he was depressed and passed away early. That poor man before dying, to commemorate this unresolved love, creating a perfume that is one of a kind in the world, named it Golden Wind and Jade Dew. There's poetry as evidence. At this point I began to chant, when the golden wind blows and the jade dew blows we meet. It is better than countless people in the world. Tenderness is like water. The good days are like a dream. How can I bear to look at the way back from the Magpie Bridge? If the love between the two lasts for a long time, is it not in the morning and evening? The poetic tenderness contained in the lines of the Magpie Bridge, immortal. It instantly moved a young girl who was inexperienced in the world. Hearing this poem, Wang Yuqi's eyes were filled with tears. I was so moved, I was almost in tears. But Wang Yuyan remained calm. Only his gaze softened considerably. Seeing this I nodded silently to myself. Finally he deliberately sighed. Ask what love is in the world. It directly teaches us to promise each other in life and death. Golden wind and jade dew are only given to the genuine, those destined to understand what love is. Two girls, do you feel like you're destined to be someone? Wang Yuyan and Wang Yuqi exchanged a glance. Yudu shook his head. Both were born into a family of cultivators, never experienced what love is. The clan members were all arranged by elders through marriage alliances. There was no way to talk about romance. I sighed softly, showing a look of regret. Then said regretfully, I'm so sorry. It seems that Jinfeng Yulu is no longer destined for you two. Wang Yuqi opened her mouth to speak, but Wang Yuyan tugged at him from the side. He had no choice but to shut his mouth again. Done. Hearing such a touching story was truly rewarding. Since we are not connected to it, we will not force it here. Wang Yuyan quickly regained her composure. I just have a pungent request. I want to ask if the young master intends to sell the perfume formula. Boy, I admit I crave your bodies, but you are not kind. It actually set its sights on my chicken. Perhaps the value of perfume goes far beyond this. Thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Then he decisively shook his head. The perfume recipe was left by my family's ancestors. It is not convenient to pass it on to outsiders. Wang Yuyan looked regretful after hearing this. At that moment, a chilling voice suddenly came from outside the pavilion. The middle-aged coachman suddenly looked up and stepped forward, looking at his young lady. When his peripheral glance swept over me, his eyes were filled with murderous intent, and must not be without reason. Retire, Wang Yuyan replied apologetically after driving the coachman away. Servants show disrespect. Young master, you've been startled. I smiled slightly upon hearing this. Anyway, a mere half-step innate realm. You still can't hold me. But the discussion failed, and thus wished to seize by force. In my opinion, this way of handling things is very bad. It is easy to bring trouble to the family. It's up to you. This moment Wang Yuki interrupted angrily. She felt offended. I shook my head calmly and said, May, naturally, it won't work. But the world is so vast. There are too many people you can't afford to mess with. Even if your main family is a cultivation clan, it's not allowed. Wang Yuyan's expression changed at these words, and she questioned, how do you know where we come from? I said in a calm tone, is that really that hard to guess? Able to make someone at the half-step innate level. Top experts willingly become rickshaw pullers. At the same time, both girls had the surname Wang, and she possesses such stunning beauty. I can't think of any other place in Gansu except for the Yasuxian Wang family. Which other family could meet these criteria? I see. Listen to my explanation. Wang Yuyan's expression softened. Wang Yuqi, standing nearby, felt a surge of joy as she listened. A proud look appeared on his face, because no one had ever described the sisters as stunningly beautiful. Wang Yuyan returned to the original topic. Young Master Zhao, and determined to get the perfume formula. Please name your price. Her tone was very firm. It clearly implied that he would not give up until he achieved his goal. Hearing this, I quickly weighed it in my mind. Looking back now, the true value of perfume is probably far beyond expectations, but such an accident was clearly more beneficial for me. I do not want to go against the wishes of my ancestors. Recipe cannot be sold, but we can cooperate. How to cooperate? Wang Yuyan's eyes lit up, and she immediately pressed for more. The reason she is so dedicated to the perfume formula. The purpose is simple. All to earn spirit stones. Mortals, the Wang family seemed lofty and aloof, but in the cultivation world, the Wang family has always been at the bottom of the food chain. It's only a bit better than rogue cultivators. The entire Wang family had only 9 cultivators. 2 late-stage chi refining cultivators. 3 were mid-stage chi refining, and 4 rookies at the first and second levels. It is worth mentioning Wang Yuyan. He was the weakest among the Wang family cultivators. She has 5 spiritual roots. After 5 or 6 years of cultivation, he barely managed to advance to the first level of chi refining. The Wang family relies on only 20 mu of spiritual fields each year. Earn some spirit stones by refining first-tier talismans and refining spiritual materials. They only earn 1,000 spirit stones each year, just enough for the family's cultivators to cultivators. Life was extremely tight. After Wang Yuyan tried the perfume, she keenly spotted a business opportunity. After these days of experimentation, she confirmed this further. The perfume has great potential. In the cultivation world, female cultivators have many ways to make themselves smell fragrant all day. Example, the first-tier elixir passion flower pill. As long as he took 1 pill, it would guarantee the female cultivator's health. It exudes a strong body fragrance all year round. However, buying 1 passion pill required 10 spirit stones. Among the female cultivators of chi refining, there are quite a few who are reluctant to buy Sheng pills. And this is the value of perfume. Passion fruit elixir is too expensive. The fragrant powder is too low end. No problem, you can spend 1 spirit stone to buy a big bottle of perfume. It's enough for you to use for a whole year. Yuyan had calculated carefully, earning 100 or so spirit stones a year shouldn't be a problem. Calculated this way, perfume trading accounts for 1/10 of the entire tribe's annual output. It was simply a huge profit. Wang Yuyan understood this very well. As long as the family notices perfume, neither young Master Zhao nor her sisters could keep the perfume formula. Therefore, Wang Yuyan and her sister had already discussed it in advance. Before this perfume was exposed, he could make as much profit as possible. Seeing the eager expressions on the Wang sisters' faces, I smiled slightly and said, I was responsible for preparing the perfume. You are in charge of sales. The profit is split in half for each family. Wang Yuyan said seriously, half the profit margin is too high. 28 minutes. I am 8 and you 2. Half an hour later, after a warm and friendly conversation, the 2 sides ultimately decided to split the score evenly. After the negotiation succeeded, I unknowingly, he'd already grown closer to the Wang sisters. And that is also my main goal today. Soon a secret workshop inside Zhao family fort was tightly sealed and locked. At the same time, a large number of trusted clansmen were sent inside. Mass production of perfume began. At the same time, I lack experience with the Wang sisters. Fearing a slip up, he had to accompany the 2 of them. Thus the 3 of them disguised themselves and dressed up. He entered and exited various cultivation markets in Liang Kingdom. Start selling perfume in bulk by selecting specific stores. In the blink of an eye, 4 months passed. During this period, the 3 of them made a fortune. This clearly exceeds the previously optimistic estimates. However, Wang Yuyan and Wang Yuqi remained gloomy, always frowning and gloomy, because that guy hit the nail on the head again. Some perfume formulas have already been cracked by cultivators. Compared to alchemy, making perfume is really simple. 4 months of living together, day and night. This made my relationship with the Wang sisters improve by leaps and bounds. My younger sister Wang Yuqi was even more deeply in love with me. The reason progress is so fast, it is inseparable from my meticulous planning. It's also related to the secret of love. One word. If she were inexperienced in the world, you would have taken her to experience all the world's splendor. If she is full of longing, take her to ride the carousel. In a simple and respectful room. Wang Yuyan looked serious as she read the numbers. They were counting the total number of spirit stones the 3 had earned during this period. On the table in front of her, a small mountain of spirit stones had already been piled up. At this moment, Wang Yuqi was sitting next to her. Suddenly, he complained with impatience. Sister Yuyan, stop counting. A total of 800 854 spirit stones. You've counted dozens of times. Isn't that enough? Wang Yuyan ignored her sister and continued counting at a leisurely pace. Wang Yuqi immediately felt a bit frustrated, immediately shouted loudly. Brother Qin said, just give him 240 spirit stones. He didn't want the remaining small change. Wang Yuyan suddenly stopped what she was doing. Her beautiful eyes looked straight at her sister. There was doubt in his eyes. Wang Yuqi said proudly. And proudly at the sight. The Qin told me yesterday, because the perfume business could no longer be sustained, so I decided to erase the small amount. As compensation for the two of us. Wang Yuyan shook her head. I don't want his compensation. Other than that, I want to make a few more profits. Wang Yuqi's face changed dramatically, and she shouted in shock and anger. You don't want to die. When Qingge spoke, you've already lost money. If they kept going, their lives would be at risk. Arrived at Qingge. 3 sentences never left the word brother Qin. You might as well marry him. As soon as Wang Yuqi said this, blushing on the spot, she stomped her foot and pouted coquettishly. Blinded by greed. I won't tell you. At that moment, I walked into the room from outside. I happened to hear this sentence. He couldn't help but laugh. What are you two having a fight with again? As he spoke, he placed the food box he was carrying on the table. Arrived at Qingge. What delicious food did you make this time? Wang Yuqi happily ran over to me as soon as she saw me appear. Curious, she opened the food box while asking. This time it really took me a lot of effort. I call it cake. Try it and see if it's really delicious. As I spoke, I took a piece out of the food box. The soft pale yellow cake was brought to Wang Yuqi's mouth. Wang Yuqi showed no resistance when fed him. Her face was full of obsession and affection. Obediently he opened his mouth and bit down. It's so delicious. Sister Yuyan, you should try it too. Compared to her joyful younger sister, Wang Yuyan's expression was very calm. She calmly took a piece of cake out of the food box and began to taste it. While eating, Wang Yuqi suddenly complained. Arrived at Qingge. Sister Yuyan was unwilling to give up. He still wanted to go to the market again. Hearing this, my expression changed slightly. He turned to Wang Yuyan and asked seriously. What she said was true. Don't you know how dangerous this is? I just want to earn a little more. Wang Yuyan looked completely unwilling, but the voices of rebuttal grew quieter and quieter. Saying this, I shook my head helplessly. Even if you want to, we can't keep doing it either. I guessed it right. Fanjian Valley has already discovered us. The sisters panicked when they heard this. They never doubted my words. After months of working together, their image of me being meticulous and flawless was already deeply ingrained. Seeing the two sisters so flustered, I just smiled. Don't panic. This is a good thing. I happen to have something to do and need to enter Fanjian Valley at 4. Wang Yuqi was so frightened her face turned pale that she immediately tried to persuade him. Arrived at Qingde. You absolutely must not come to my house. My grandpa is really fierce. Be careful, he might kill you in anger. You should run away quickly. After hearing this, I calmly retorted. Why should I run away? Did I do something wrong? Besides, if I do not leave the Valley of Fragrant Swallows, how could she possibly propose marriage to the Wang family? This earth-shattering statement was spoken. This instantly made Wang Yuyan and Wang Yuqi freeze. After a while, Wang Yuqi finally mustered her courage and asked expectantly. Arrived at Qingge. You said you wanted to propose marriage. I checked the two sisters over them. Finally, he decisively looked at Wang Yuqi and said in a deep voice, Gade, I want to marry you. Do you want to? I won't tell you. Wang Yuqi, halfway through her sentence, covered her face and ran out of the room in embarrassment. Only 2 people remained in the room. At this moment, Wang Yuyan beside him appeared unusually quiet. She lowered her head in silence. Trace of disappointment couldn't help but appear in his eyes. Saying her like this, I sighed helplessly. Unfortunately, Wang Yuyan was born with a spiritual root. It was absolutely impossible to marry a mortal. 2 days later, a carriage stopped in front of Fanjian Valley. The coachman Wang Si silently lifted the carriage curtain. Let me and the Wang sisters come down. Getting out carriage, King Yuyan handed me a talisman for storing things. Inside were 500 spirit stones. These spirit stones are my wedding proposal gifts. The extra 260 spirit stones were left behind. It represents the wishes of her younger sister. Wang Yuqi walked dozens of steps along the path. Enlightened. What comes into view is a narrow, long valley. The area covers about several hundred NL. A few steps away, there was a group of expressionless middle-aged and elderly people. She was staring at me fiercely. The square-faced middle-aged man was named Wang Yigong. He is the father of Wang Yuyan and Wang Yuqi. Half a month ago, he received the family's 1,000-mile talisman. After reading the above, I flew into a rage. He immediately put down what he was doing and rushed back to Fanjian Valley without hesitation. No matter how urgent the situation is, it's not as good as that. It was important that their little cotton padded jacket had been stolen. Wang Yigong warned me. Unable to hold back, he snorted coldly and waved to the two sisters, speaking in a cold voice. Come with me. With that, he turned and walked toward the Wang family main hall. I gave a silent, bitter smile. Then he quietly followed along. After walking 3 or 4 lists, the group walked to a grand hall. Wang Yigong and the other members of the Wang family stepped down the stone steps into the main hall. I followed them confidently to the center of the hall. This moment, those seated at the very head of the hall. He was an unremarkable little old man. Gray hair. There was a faint smile on his face. Her eyes sized me up and down. It was obvious at a glance that this person was the head of the Wang family. Wang Yuyan's grandfather, Wang Zonghai, a cultivator at the 9th level of Qi, refining a great perfection. On the surface, Wang Zonghai seemed to have the best attitude, but the one I felt most uncertain about was this person. No one knew what was beneath Wang Zonghai's smiling expression. What kind of scheme is hidden beneath the surface? At this moment, the atmosphere in the hall was extremely heavy. I bowed with a calm and composed expression, neither humble nor arrogant. The younger Zhao, came to Qin. Greetings to all the elders of the Wang family. After a moment, Wang Zonghai suddenly asked with a smile, Youngster, why did you come to my Wang family today? Without hesitation, I stated my purpose directly. Fell in love at first sight with Qimai. Hit it off. This time I returned to visit Fanjin Valley to propose marriage. Licentious. Wang Yigong slammed the table and rose his beard and hair bristling. He absolutely refused to agree to his daughter marrying a mortal. Sit down. Cultivating immortality is cultivating the mind. Dozens of years old, still can't keep it calm. Tomorrow go to the quiet chamber in the back mountain to seclude yourself and cultivate. No one is allowed to leave the seclusion unless they reach the 6th level of qi refining. After scolding his son Wang Zonghai turned to me and said, Youngster, our Wang family has been independent for over 900 years. There have been many incidents like yours in my family's history. Some of them have succeeded, but most failed. You know why? I would like to hear more details. I said calmly, because of interest they marry mortals. Benefits are far less than those of marrying to cultivation families. Can you bring greater benefits to my Wang family? I don't know why. The head of the Wang family was surprisingly honest with me. He was exposed naked in front of his clansmen, the truest side of human nature. After a moment of silence, I replied firmly, Hey. Then I took out the storage talisman and gestured. There are 500 spirit stones inside. Is it enough? Inadequate. Wang Zonghai shook his head without hesitation. In contrast, the other members of the Wang family were visibly delighted, because 500 spirit stones is already equivalent to nearly half of the clan's annual income. I took out another stack of papers from my pocket and said loudly, It describes the complete process of making perfume, and 12 perfume formulas. Among them 3 are new types of perfumes. It has not yet appeared in the marketplace. Wang Zonghai suddenly gave a strange smile. He also took a stack of paper from his storage pouch. He gently gave it to the stack of papers. Long eyes flew right up to me like a clear sky. I opened the paper and saw it, and my heart sank instantly, because the writing on it was almost exactly the same as the one in my hand. It was obvious that the perfume workshop had long been exposed to the Wang family's sight, and I don't know anything. In the cultivation world, you must never underestimate any cultivation family, especially those that were once glorious. Now the family has fallen into decline. For example, the Wang family of Fanjin Valley. Weighing me in silence, Wang Zonghai asked with a smile, Youngster, there shouldn't be any omissions in what is written here. I waved the prescription in my hand. I remember someone once said this. Interests are the driving force behind all human actions. You went to such lengths to create this situation. It probably wasn't just a toy with the younger generation. If you have any requests, feel free to say them directly. Hearing this, Wang Zonghai suddenly burst out laughing. This time it was sincere. Very good. If among the younger generation in my family you are half as smart in dealing with people, then even if I die I can still protect myself. Hearing this, my heart skipped a beat. No way. Could it be that old man wants me to join the Wang family? Man stands tall. How could she live off a son-in-law? I immediately reminded him, Mr. Wang, my family has 3 generations of single heirloom. I remember correctly. In this generation of the Zhao family you rank 9th. Wang Zonghai immediately exposed my lie. After my parents died, every year incense must be burned in worship. As long as there is a heart, it's just as fine in Fanjin Valley. For a moment I was speechless and had no choice but to speak honestly and fairly. Old man, I would never join the Wang family. Wang Zonghai's face darkened upon hearing this. Don't you want to marry my granddaughter? No matter how Wang Zonghai threatened or tempted him from then on, I kept shaking my head and persisting. In the end, Wang Zonghai had no choice but to take a step back. This way, we reach a gentleman's agreement. As long as you can advance to innate within 3 years, everything is up to you. If not, then marry into my Wang family. Other than that, among your descendants with Yu Qi, those without spiritual roots can take their father's surname. If you have a spiritual root, you can only take the surname Wang. Hearing Wang Zonghai say this, I immediately nodded. Genial. I won, because I estimate that I can advance to the innate stage in at most 2 years. Wang Zonghai believed he had succeeded in his strategy. Little do they know I am a man with 3 lifetimes of experience. Days later, I returned to Zhao family fort to begin a long secluded cultivation. Meanwhile, the Zhao family, supported by a mysterious force, he quickly annexed several gangs along the Gansu road. A year later, because of the experience of advancing to the innate realm, I smoothly transferred the Azure Sea True Chi within my body. All of it was transformed into innate true energy. 6 months later, on the day the 9th young master of the Zhao family got married, entire city of Nanyang was in an uproar, because the people of Nanyang had never seen anyone get married. The dowry stretched for 20 lil. The Zhao family's actions were also extremely arrogant. Thousands of tables of banquets can be held for a whole month. This grand wedding was enough to. The people of Nanyang have been talking about it with great interest for nearly a century. A year later, I had my first son. Fortunately, there is no spiritual root. The following year, a lovely daughter was born, still without spiritual roots. I'm not upset. He continued to hide in Zhao family fort and pursue his grand enterprise. One night in the 3rd year, Wang Yuyan, whose features had become increasingly elegant and refined, suddenly approached me. The first thing she said when we met was, I'm getting married. It was silent for a moment. Congratulations. A rogue cultivator at the 6th level of Qi refining was willing to marry into the Wang family. My father agreed. Wait until next month's auspicious day to get married. Wang Yuyan stared intently at the man opposite her, but his tone was unusually calm. It was as if he were talking about someone else. Congratulations. Didn't know what to say. He had no choice but to repeat what he had said before. Cowardly men. After saying this, Wang Yuyan suddenly leapt forward and pounced on me. I want you. A night of madness. At dawn, Wang Yuyan drifted away alone. Never would have imagined. Wang Yuyan, who has always been known for her rationality and coolness, is so brave. As a man, I feel ashamed even as well. On the 8th day of the 9th lunar month, Fanjin Valley was adorned with red costumes and colorful decorations creating a festive atmosphere. Among the many guests and clansmen I looked solemn and unsettled as if I had lost my place, watching Wang Yuyan marry a man with shifty eyes through the wedding ceremony. That night was already the time of a mother of three. Wang Yuqi suddenly lost her temper for no apparent reason. I said countless kind words before I could calm her down. Soon, 15 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day in a room in the rear residence of Zhao family fort, painful cries echoed out, kept pacing back and forth in the courtyard outside the room. Her expression was anxious, constantly glancing into the delivery room. Over the years, Wang Yuqi has given me 7 children, one after another, although every time she gave birth she would always vow never to have another child. But within 2 years she became pregnant again. I am also very grateful for her dedication over the years. Perhaps the initial purpose of marrying a wife was very strong. After more than 10 years together, my feelings for her grew deeper day by day. Gradually he changed his utilitarian mindset. Another half hour passed. Suddenly a loud hoof cry came from the delivery room. At that moment, the anxiety I had been holding finally eased. The 8th child was finally born. After a long time, just as I couldn't help but rush into the delivery room, slender figure was holding a baby bundle. Finally I walked out of the delivery room. Watching the beautiful woman approach, I always feel a little uncomfortable. Ever since he died in an accident 8 years ago with a shifty look, Wang Yuyan came looking for me again. From that day on, the two often secretly had affairs. Wang Yuyan stuffed the baby bundle into my arms. He said with a very complicated expression, "Look at your son. Congratulations on getting what you wanted." Hearing this, I immediately shuddered all over. Her hands trembled, almost catching the child. "I've already tested it. These are the 4 spiritual roots." Wang Yuyan nodded in agreement. At this moment, I was extremely excited. After working hard for so many years, fate finally showed mercy. Let's call the 8th brother Zhao Cheng. That night, Zhao family fort was suddenly tightly sealed and locked. Immediately after, carrier pigeons appeared, carrying tremendous good news. It flew in all directions. Soon people from the Wang family from Fanjin Valley arrived, the important figures outside Zhao family fort. He hurried back without stopping. The significance of the 8th prince's birth to the Zhao family is beyond question. However, the Zhao family did not hold a lavish celebration this time. Instead, it was unusually low-key. Except for some insiders from the Zhao and Wang families, no outsiders knew about the Zhao family of Nenyang. Finally, a child with a spiritual root was born. I'm Chapter 5. A year later, my cultivation reached the innate great perfection. His real combat power far surpasses his realm. Especially his lightness skill had reached an incredible level. Just then, the living room door was smashed open from outside. Madame Wang Yuqi appeared, tear-streaked faces and panicked expressions as he barged in. "Husband, things are not good. Our Wang family." Wang Yuqi threw herself into my arms. With just one sentence, Heitao burst into tears. Saying this, my expression changed. He hurriedly tried to comfort her. "Don't panic." What happened? Wang Yuqi's right hand trembled. He handed me the 1,000-mile talisman in his palm. I took it and opened it to take a look. His expression grew increasingly grim. In the end, his face turned ashen. It turned out to be just one day ago, the Wang family's arch-enemy, the Zhao family of the Golden Core family, suddenly found Fanjin Valley, trapped dozens of members of the Wang family inside the valley. To prevent the Wang family from escaping, this time the Zhou family actually sent 3 people, foundation establishments and a team of late-stage chi refining clan members. Don't hold out any hope. This time the Wang family could not escape. At the end of the 1,000-mile talisman there is a note. He hoped Zhao Zhiqin's family would escape as soon as possible. This was to prevent the Zhou family from coming after the Zhao family to eliminate the new weeds. Wang family has been safe for more than 60 years since moving to Ganzhou. Why did the Zhao family come looking for them now? Shocked and angry, I was deeply puzzled. Wang Yuqi didn't know why. Soon I guessed the possibility. Could it be because of that foundation establishment pill? For more than 10 years the Wang family has gained income from perfume. Annual revenue increases significantly. By the end of the year he could save 300 to 400 spirit stones. Meanwhile, Wang Zonghai was already nearly 90 years old. If he didn't build his foundation soon, he wouldn't have many years left to live. So half a year ago the Wang family unanimously decided, even if it meant risking his fortune, he wanted Wang Zonghai to try foundation establishment. A month ago the Wang family spent a fortune of 20,000 and multiple spirit stones won a low-grade foundation establishment pill. In fact, foundation establishment pills are only an indirect factor. The last ancestral spiritual artifact, the Red Dragon Sword, was sold by the Wang family. This was the most direct cause of this catastrophe. The Red Dragon Sword was the foundation establishment of the Wang family's ancestor, the most commonly used spiritual artifact. Certain foundation establishment clan member of the Zhou family happened to be at the event. The Red Dragon Sword was seen at the auction. Only then did he realize that the remnants of the Wang family were actually hiding in the Liang kingdom. The Wang family's ancestral land is in the Daiyong dynasty of the Tianhuang domain. They were once a Jindan family, the family's ancestors, and the neighboring Zhao family. The Golden Core ancestor was his arch-rival. So when the Wang family patriarch passed away, the Wang family collapsed and everyone pushed it down. Under the Zhou family's patriarch's leading assault, the Wang family was eventually breached, their grand formation nearly wiped out. Wang Zonghai and the others escaped from the Wang family, the last clan member to come. Husband, what are we going to do? Wang Yuqi was completely at a loss, unable to make a decision. The Wang family was beyond saving. The most important thing right now is to keep it as much as possible. The lives of my entire family. Now I am facing an exceptionally difficult choice. I have 8 children. The eldest Zhao Chenggong was 16 years old. The youngest Zhao Cheng had just turned 1 year old. The Zhao family of Nanyang had no major problems. Think it's just a bunch of ordinary people. The Zhao family might not approve of it, nor would they necessarily kill him, but the Zhao family won't let my family off, because the cultivation world has always had a tradition of eradicating the roots. The great Yongzhou family. This is the blood feud of a noble family that has broken down their sons. Zhao will surely repay tenfold, even if it doesn't work in this life. The next life, below the next world. One day, I will make you pay the Zhou family's blood debt in blood. Thinking of this, I gritted my teeth and made a cruel decision. To maximize the chances of survival, my wife and I only took Zhao Cheng and escaped. The other 7 children were arranged to be accompanied by close relatives. Try to separate and escape as much as possible. After making a choice, I immediately found the family head, Zhao Hexing. Tell him that the Wang family has already been destroyed, and that his family needed to escape as soon as possible. Zhao Hexing quickly calmed down. He swiftly gathered 7 people, the most trusted close kin members. In just 15 minutes, everything was arranged. 2 hours later, I watched with a face full of sorrow as I left. Carriages carrying children. Separately, they set sail toward unknown territory. For safety, no one in the Zhao family knew where's the final destination of the escape. Even I was no exception. When escaping, the 7 children each carried something on them. A family token to facilitate future reunion. I put Laoba into a sleeping bag and tied it tightly behind my back. Then he forcibly pulled the foolish one, gazing into the distance. Wan Yuqi jumped onto 2,000-mile divine steeds. Take care. I turned to look at Zhao Hexing, whose hair had suddenly turned completely white. He nodded heavily. 2,000 Li colts galloped away. By the time Zhao Jiqin's family disappeared far away into the horizon, Zhao Hexing suddenly burst into tears. After half a year, I took my family of 3. He fled near Tianzhu Mountain. He settled here under a different name. And so 23 years passed. All these years I have been on the boundless mountain walls. Thousands of trips back and forth. During this period, no matter the weather, it was never seen. The sea of clouds above and beneath my feet has dispersed. Tianzhu Mountain is a very famous place in the cultivation world. It is known as the central axis of heaven, the central place of the world. It is also paradise for rogue cultivators. 23 years ago, to gather cultivation resources for the 8th brother, I quickly became one of the hundreds of thousands of herb gatherers on Tianzhu Mountain. Every day he busily gathered all kinds of spiritual herbs, exchanged for spirit stones, talismans, and other cultivation resources. Tianzhu Mountain was filled with countless spiritual herbs. The most famous among them are the 2 spiritual herbs, purple chigonoderma and moondew. Moondew is so mysterious. It only appears above 30 li of Tianzhu Mountain. It's too high and too dangerous. Only those at foundation establishment level and above can reach it. Purple ganoderma is classified by medicinal age into 4 grades: white, green, red, and purple. Lingxi mushrooms over 500 years old are as red as fire. Lingxi mushrooms over 1,000 years old have a purple hue. This is also the origin of the name purple aura ganoderma. It is famous for being over 500 years old. Red fire ganoderma is the main ingredient for refining foundation establishment pills. As for the purple ganoderma, over 1,000 years old, it is one of the main ingredients in the golden pill. No one knows how many years ago all the major sects in the cultivation world existed. All of them simultaneously issued an indefinite task, without counting the quantity, regardless of the duration of the medicine. Unlimited purchase of the unique purple chi ganoderma from Tianzhu Mountain, and established generous rewards for him. A red fire tree with 500 years of cultivation. Chi can be exchanged for 1 foundation establishment pill. Can also exchange for a mountain gate token. Anyone holding the token, even those with 5 spiritual roots, can unconditionally join cultivation sects. This unlimited quest bounty triggers. It has fulfilled countless people's dreams of getting rich and cultivating immortality. For thousands of years, countless knights and scattered cultivators in the martial world have refined their chi. Foundation establishment cultivators, even golden core masters, they swarm to the outskirts of Tianzhu Mountain. Or does Ernitas, climbing up and down the sheer cliffs. To obtain the treasure in his heart, he risks his own life. Just as I was imagining this, suddenly a fierce shout came from above. Shameless old thief. Finally, let me find you. Let's see where you run today. I looked up. The other was about 40 years old. A burly man with rainbow-bearded brown hair suddenly came into view. The burly man was furious. Standing beneath her feet was a wide door, wide sword. He quickly dove toward the cliff. Seeing the newcomer, I couldn't help but smile slightly. He took another step closer to the edge of the cliff. Seeing the fierce wind rushing toward him, he suddenly leapt down. His body freely fell into the void, his speed growing faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, he was pierced into the mist. Branches and strange rocks crisscrossed the mountain walls, casting faint shadows. He fell about 10,000 meters away. Suddenly, I spread my arms wide. 2 canvases suddenly stretched out from his hands and waist. Like 2 wings, the fabric bulged high due to the strong wind. The next second, the rate of descent dropped sharply. Finally, he caught sight of a mountain rock beam jutting out of the cliff, lightly falling on top. Without hesitation, I tapped my feet repeatedly. Floating through the void, he crossed several hundred jang in an instant. After finding a gap where they could take shelter, I immediately stopped in my tracks, easily slipping into the rock wall. Then he activated the turtle breath technique and entered a state of feigned death. The next moment, a thunderous roar drifted into his ears with the wind. Entered Yunlong Gongsun Sheng. I remember you. Sooner or later, I'll catch you, you shameless old thief. Walking the martial world, caution comes first. So I never used my real name. Whenever he met someone, he would immediately call himself Gongsun Sheng. His nickname was Dragon of the Clouds. Hearing this voice, I sighed inwardly. Isn't it just using Yunlong Ju to transform? You're a 300-year-old Qingji mushroom. It chased me so desperately and refused to let go. Han Shuan Wu, you're way too stubborn. Because they were afraid of being waited for by the stump, I hid in the crevice of the rock all day. It wasn't until night fell that I peeked out creepy. As the saying goes, be careful to steer the boat for 10,000 years. After more than 20 years of bloodshed and chaos, they have fought their way through. Ambush, murder, waiting, encircling, and stealing treasure. I've seen too many scenes. If not for extreme caution and caution. 20 years ago, I died in some unknown corner. Peeking out, twitching his nose, he sniffed the mountain breeze. Feeling the air was devoid void of human presence, I finally relaxed. 2/4 of an hour later, I suddenly stopped. Vegetation on the cliff beneath our feet had become sparse. The night was extremely desolate. Because of this, it floats outside the mountain wall nearly 1,000 zhang away. The huge spherical flame stood out even more conspicuously. This is the Ziyang sect's flame talisman. Tianshu Mountain is so unique because of its terrain. Many major sects in the cultivation world often send large numbers of disciples, hold a series of impromptu trade fairs at Tianzhu Mountain. Unexpectedly, on the way back to the nest, they would also encounter a trade fair. It's a good time to go make a deal. After 7 or 8 breaths, I stepped onto this place. A stone platform protrudes beyond the mountain wall. Bonfires had already been set up here. A group of expressions gathered around the campfire. Herbal gatherers with weathered faces, each one different. When they saw me arrive, the group first stood first. Soon someone stood up and said with a smile, "Ha ha, Gongsun, the old traitor. You actually dare to show yourself." Looking at Han Xuanwu's twisted expression, I secretly felt unlucky. I didn't look at the yellow calendar when I went out today. This reckless person had run into him again. Han Xuanwu was originally a martial arts hero. It was only after meeting a master that he realized he actually had a spiritual root. After the master passed on a chi refining technique to him, he left gracefully. Han Xuanwu has exceptional cultivation talent. Alone, he groped and cultivated. He was able to cultivate to the 6th level of chi, refining in just 20 years. Though he had become a cultivator, however, Han Xuanwu, obsessed with martial arts, always prided himself on being a martial artist. He usually loves collecting all kinds of martial arts and ultimate techniques. 3 months ago at a trade fair, I used my unique technique Yanlong. Qiu Bian exchanged a 300-year-old green Ganodama from Han Xuanwu. Later, he realized he had been tricked and forced himself to do it. They hunted me for a full 3 months. Han Wu was foolish. You don't look at what this place is. Try making a move. Here, I am not afraid of the other person at all. He strode over to the campfire facing Han Xuanwu, face to face. If you have the guts, don't run away. Han Xuanwu's expression froze and he truly didn't dare to make a move. After saying this hard, he sat back down with a face full of unwillingness. There are several taboos on Tianzhu Mountain. One of the key points is that you must never make a move at the trade fair. I intentionally or unintentionally warned the crowd. The young man in the purple robe glanced at him. That person was an inner disciple of the Ziyang sect, responsible for hosting today's trade fair. I've been living in Tianzhu Mountain for over 20 years, although even cultivators are not like that. But my reputation is no small matter. Extremely daring, cunning and ruthless. The first person to fly wingsuits, in Ada ambush kill, late chi refining stage, escaped from Foundation establishment. All of these are my labels, so some familiar herbalists greeted me. I repeatedly returned the gesture with a fist salute. Ever since I pioneered the wingsuit flight mode, I became the Xiangfu of many small herb gathering teams. Many cultivators in the early chi refining stage learned wings. Through equipping flight, the survival rate increases sharply, so while earning a large sum in tuition, my fame grew day by day. After a while, seeing no one else came again, the Ziyang sect disciple suddenly coughed twice and stood up. The man scanned everyone and then spoke. "The time is almost there. Let's start tonight's trade show. Old rules. I can't do it. Once the goods are in hand, neither party may back out. A safety range exceeding 10 miles. Each lives and dies in their own way, accepting their own fate. Other than that, if you need it, you can contact me to exchange it. Not restricted by spirit stones, magical artifacts, Dao talismans, pills, etc." After saying that, he sat back down. The trade fair begins. Some herbalists began to approach the Ziyang sect. Disciples exchange spiritual medicines for what they need. The other herbalists skillfully open their backpacks, put some odds and ends on the table. For example, various air-dried or well-preserved spiritual medicines, various broken magical artifacts and swords. I also spread out the items in my backpack one by one. At that moment, Han Xuanwu stood across from me, his eyes fixed intently on me. He didn't speak. "Brother Han, are you like this?" I really didn't hold back. "If you can't master the Cloud Dragon 9 transformations, it's because your constitution isn't suitable. It's not my fault." I looked very sincere. I have a good impression of Han Xuanwu. This man was very loyal to the Jianghu. He was also upright and straightforward in his work. Key is that he never discriminates against ordinary martial artists. Besides, what I'm saying is also the truth. He doesn't have a body as light as a swallow. Ordinary people at their peak can only take 7 or 8 zhang at most. Unlike me, who can cross the air in a single 10 zhang in a single step. Han Xuanwu said nothing. Gongsun, the old thief, was notorious among herbalists everywhere. Couldn't believe a word of his words. Moreover, the Cloud Dragon 9 transformations must also have other secret acupoints. Otherwise, as a martial arts prodigy, he couldn't possibly have mastered it. Saying that the other party was determined to keep pestering her, I was about to say a few more words to persuade him. Suddenly my nose twitched violently a few times. He smelled an extremely faint and peculiar scent. My expression changed slightly. He quietly glanced around. Seeing nothing unusual around him, the trade was in full swing. However, the unpleasant smell in the air was gradually intensifying. Since reaching my innate limit last year, suddenly his sense of smell became exceptionally sensitive. It can identify complex odors in the air one by one. It could also detect an aura that even cultivators couldn't detect. Listen to my advice. Get out of here as soon as possible. After using telepathic communication to remind Han Xuanwu, my hands and feet became swift. Put the items on the ground back into the backpack. After packing up, I suddenly stood up. He glared angrily at Han Xuanwu. "Okay, good. Running into you today is just my bad luck. I can't leave. If you have the guts, come after me." After saying this, he ignored the strange looks from the others. I hurried out of the area, but the next second my figure was looking fierce. Reflection turned extremely grim. The surroundings quickly quieted down. At this moment, the disciple of the Ziyang sect, he suddenly stood up and asked me, "What happened?" I glanced at him coldly and said, "Outside someone had set up a barrier formation. We can't get out." For some reason, after seeing the performance of that Ziyang sect disciple, I felt very uneasy. Before I could figure it out, that person suddenly blurted out a question in a baffling way. "Time is a bit early." "That's fine." At that moment, the scent in the air suddenly became stronger. strong, I suddenly shouted loudly, while the others were still at a loss. Suddenly he leaned backward, pressed close to the ground, and was sent flying backward. A little later, a large scorching red glow swept past his nose. Waves of fire surged and exploded. What followed was an unusually pungent, spicy taste. What followed was a series of screams, and the wild laughter of that Xiang sect disciple without restraint. Earthly lung poisonous flame. Careful, he is not a disciple of the Xiang sect. He was a demonic disciple of the Earth Flame Palace. This was Han Xuanwu's voice, accompanied by bursts of explosions. Fortunately, I reacted quickly. One rolled and hid behind a piece of rubble. At the same time, he quickly swallowed several antidote pills. Activate the turtle breath technique and enter the fetal breath state. Even though I was still dizzy and disoriented, looking up, flames shot up into the sky. The original campfire had grown more than tenfold in size. Each is a series of oil green flame beasts. He quickly pounced on everyone. The cause of all this was precisely that disciple of the Xiang sect. His true identity was that of the true disciple of the Earth Flame Palace. His name was Fu Yangqing. Even in Great Perfection Realm. Now he tossed out clusters of crimson fireballs in his hand. Waves of fire surged forth. It was as if the spiritual power within everyone's bodies was suppressed by something. The usable spiritual power was less than 10%. Therefore, there is almost no strength to resist. And Xuanwu, on the other hand, was skilled in various martial arts. He still had the strength to flee everywhere. He lightly tapped his steps and suddenly changed direction, dodging several roaring fireballs in succession. Fu Yangqing was killing and setting fires while doing so. On the other hand, she still had the leisure to turn her head and smile at me. You're on guard. I just released the spirit powder and it detected it for you. Fortunately, the formation had been set up in advance. Otherwise, I'll let you escape. Killed and disguised himself as a disciple of the Xiang sect. This matter must never be exposed. Otherwise, he would surely be hunted to death by the Xiang sect. If it weren't for buying a few more Foundation establishment pills, he wouldn't take such a big risk. Saying that I was very calm, Fu Yangqing sneered disdainfully. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. As soon as he finished speaking, a red thread appeared straight down from above my head. Saying this, I suddenly lifted both hands upward. A 3-foot thick wall of true chi appeared in an instant, generating a direct block toward the red line. However, it was all in vain. The 3-foot air wall had no effect at all. The next second there was a loud bang. The red line instantly stopped. Then a pale red sword appeared. A sudden round white light shield appeared, blocked this fatal blow in my place. The price was a jade pendant in his hand cracking. With a sound, several cracks split open. Meanwhile, all the screams and groans disappeared, except for me and Han Xuanwu. Han Xuanwu quickly fled to my side, both shocked and furious. Gongsun, the old traitor, you have a lot of eyes. Think quickly about how to escape. I can't die. My daughter is still waiting for me to come back. After Fu Yanqing circled us several times, finally his gaze fixed on my face. How do you want to die? As soon as he finished speaking, 7 or 8 crimson fireballs flew toward my head. Fortunately, my lightness skill is peerless. Within 10 Zhang Fenru teleported and dodged a wave of attacks. However, at that moment, the ground nearby was blazing with fierce flames. Even the stones were about to melt and were almost melted, leaving nowhere to stand. However, the greater threat was the pale red flying sword. With its continuous attacks, the brightness of the circular mask rapidly diminished. The protective jade pendant was also riddled with cracks. Don't know how long it can last. But just then, I suddenly thought of something. The idea urgently shouted at Han Xuanwu. Do you still have talismans like water ice? Han Xuanwu shouted anxiously. Yes. As he spoke, he took out a large talisman from his waist. There were also 8 water ice talismans. Very good. Later, I'll throw it wherever you tell me. You have to smash them all out as fast as possible. Do you understand? Come with me. I scanned the surroundings with both eyes. He immediately pointed to a spot about 10 feet away. The waves of fire roared. The ground was nearly level, burned into lava. Although Han Xuanwu couldn't figure out why, but without any hesitation, he immediately summoned the last bit of spiritual power to release. Summons all water and ice talismans. In an instant, 3 or 4 deep blue water jars, the size of a water jar, appeared. The water ball smashed onto the red-hot ground. Within seconds, the magma rapidly cooled and solidified. I immediately drew my sword from my waist and infused it with innate true energy. Then he thrust in forcefully. The ground collapsed instantly. His body fell into the abyss of countless battles, along with countless stones. Saved. I couldn't help but think excitedly. At that moment, a furious roar of utter resentment came from above. Immediately after, 7 or 8 giant flame beasts leapt down from the stone platform. In an instant, he crossed a distance of more than 10 zhang and slashed on the defensive shield in front of me. The defensive shield suddenly shattered. The moment the red thread swiftly slashed toward my head, I quickly jumped off the cliff and then spread my wings on both sides, using the wind to silently blend into the night, fleeing into the sky. This treasure hunting life went on for more than a decade. Saying goes, walking too much at night, you would eventually encounter ghosts. As the pioneer of the wingsuit model, why did I have some bad luck during the flight? Encountered turbulent clouds, but little did they know it was precisely this turbulent current. I accidentally fell into a land of death. In the land of death, I harvested quite a few millennium-old spiritual herbs. No one knows how much time passed. I finally broke free from the land of death. Once again, I saw the sun and sea of clouds. A few months later, at the Zhao family manor, by the Lishui River, a furious roar suddenly came from inside the ancestral hall. Kneel down, Lao Tzu. I glared angrily at my disappointing son. Poof! He had a tiger-like back and a bearish waist. Zhao Cheng, who had an exceptionally delicate appearance. He knelt down decisively before his father. I know I was wrong. You know your mistake, my ass. These years, your mother and I have patiently advised you countless times. Where have you changed? Cultivated for decades. You've barely reached the 3rd level of chi refining, and your wife is just a useless 5 spirits root loss house. But he was already at the 5th level of chi refining. A 4 spirit root is not even as good as a useless spiritual root. Say it. Did you secretly give her the Linjuan pill again? The more I spoke, the angrier I got. Copied the family law and rat and regulations. He then slapped his son in the face repeatedly. Zhao Cheng had already advanced to the innate realm. The skin is rough and the flesh thick. He didn't care at all about this minor physical pain. He knelt and endured the beating while defending himself. You know I've been restless since I was little. He falls asleep as soon as he starts cultivating. Anyway, taking the Lingjuan pill would be a waste. Might as well give it to Qing Qing. The Qing Qing Zhao Cheng mentioned. Her name was Han Qing Qing. Born with a discarded spiritual root. Her father was none other than Han Xuanwu. Speaking of more than 10 years ago, after Han Xuanwu and I narrowly escaped from Fu Yanqing's hands. I'm not much yet, but Han Xuanwu was lucky because of this. Because he had promptly reported the presence of Earth Flame to the Xiang sect. Mortal killed and disguised himself as a disciple of the Xiang sect and set up a trap on Tianzhu Mountain to kill and seize treasures. Because of this he was able to join the Xiang sect. Later, due to his high cultivation talent, he was also ranked first. Late Foundation establishment cultivators accepted as disciples. From then on, it was out of control. It took just over a decade. He rapidly advanced from the 6th level of Qi refining to the 9th level. Back then Han Xuanwu was deeply grateful for my life-saving kindness. He visited multiple times. Two grew closer and closer. In the end, Han Xuanwu even betrothed his daughter to Zhao Cheng. The two families simply became in-laws. Compared to her husband's lazy and unambitious nature, Han Qingqing was a true cultivation fanatic. Except for the 2 months after giving birth, she spent years secluded in a quiet chamber, cultivating immortality. He did not leave the house without reason. Hearing his son's excuses, I couldn't help but get even angrier. Your wife was born with a disabled spiritual root. Foundation establishment is simply impossible. Giving her the Lingyuan pill wouldn't be a waste. It would be better to give them to Xuan Han and Lan. Zhao Xuan Han was Zhao Cheng's eldest son. He is 12 years old this year. Finishing stage 2. Like his father, he has 4 spiritual roots. Lan Lan's full name is Zhao Xuanan, and she is only 6 years old this year. She was the cherished treasure of the elderly couple. Born with the 3 spiritual roots of metal, earth, and wood, she was the hope of the Zhao family. The foundation for the future is promising. Zhao Cheng was taken aback by his words, then muttered, I think martial arts training is great. Why do you have to make me cultivate immortality? Aren't you also an innate martial artist? Snapped angrily. Sling the bull. What's so good about practicing martial arts? Can it live forever? 100 years from now, no matter how great your martial arts are. In the end, it was also a pile of yellow earth. I ask you, what is the family precept? Just as he finished speaking, a small figure jumped in from the doorway. He called out in a childish voice, Grandfather, I know, all things are inferior, but cultivation is noble. He was talking about an elderly and frail man. A figure also appeared before the 3 of them. In her 70s, Wang Yuqi no longer had the beauty she once was. His hair had turned white, his face full of wrinkles. She saw her son kneeling on the ground and immediately complained, Dead old man, the 8th brother is almost 40 by now. Why do you always make him kneel? He was unwilling to cultivate immortality. No matter how much you force him, it won't help. Confused, you also come from a cultivation family. Don't you know that only cultivators in this world truly stand above others? Zhao Jiqin, are you saying that because you think I'm old? I worked so hard to give birth to 8 children for your Zhao family. Being the old man, unable to argue with him, Wang Yuqi suddenly began to cry and complain. What I fear most is her trick. Saying this, he quickly softened his tone. At the same time, he told his son to get out immediately. Wang Yuqi was quite proud. Her husband had her skills completely under her control for the rest of his life, but he looked only about 50. A wrinkle-free husband. Then look at yourself looking so naturally aged and aged. For a moment, Wang Yuqi still felt a surge in her heart, a kind of sorrow of aging years. That sadness quickly faded. Her attention quickly shifted to her granddaughter. At this moment, Zhao Cheng hurried back again. My father-in-law came. He's waiting for you in the living room. Upon hearing this, a sharp light flashed in my eyes, and I immediately said, You stay with your mother for now. I'm going to see your father-in-law. Year before last, the Xiang sect sent Han Xuanwu to Tianzhu Mountain to take up the post. A special disciple who presides over the trade fair. So I benefited a lot. You have to know the special envoy specializes in disciples. A seed with great value. Buying low and selling high, exploiting herbal gatherers. Taking advantage of bargains, reselling pills and magical tools. Making a profit from both sides and so on. They have too many easy ways to earn spirit stones. After recovering from his injury 2 months ago, through Han Xuanwu I used 1,000-year 9-jointed ink jade hu to obtain it. Not only did he obtain a batch of 5 elements talismans, basic cultivation resources such as Linjuan pills, they also obtained some important intelligence. After a brief chat, I asked anxiously, Bazalt, has the news been confirmed? Xiang sect will release several centennial tokens this year. Han Xuanwu made a 10-point gesture with both hands. A full 10 pieces. He quickly explained the whole story in detail. Turned out that more than 20 years ago, there is a golden core great perfection cultivator in the Xiang sect. The true immortal is about to begin his breakthrough to the nascent soul realm. To improve the success rate, Xiang sect spared no expense to refine nascent soul pills. Nascent soul pills, the top grade 4th grade treasure pill. Its refining power is clearly extremely low. So, after failing twice in a row, the Xiang sect was also severely weakened. Recently I had to sell a large amount of resources to recover my health. The centennial order is a very important resource among them. It is not a magical treasure, yet it is even more precious than a magical treasure, because it represents a century-long ownership of a first-tier spiritual vein. Oh. A cultivation family with a century-old order. They would also be protected by the Xiang sect, as a large force with a nascent soul ancestor stationed there. There were more than 10 golden core masters in the Xiang sect. Few forces dared to grant him a tiger whisker. Therefore, the centennial order is extremely important to cultivation families, especially for micro-chi refining families like mine. Conversely, naturally, the price of the century order was exceptionally high. Hearing this, my eyes lit up, and I asked urgently, what is the starting bid? How many spirit stones do you have to repay each year? Han Xuanwu sighed. The starting price is 50,000 spirit stones. Upper limit unknown, but at least 60. Anyway, our two families couldn't afford to buy one together. As for the annual rent, it's worth mentioning. How do you know I can't afford it? Do you have 50,000 spirit stones? This is really not true, but the 10 spiritual veins differ in quality and resource output. Their prices inevitably vary greatly. Let's focus on buying the ones with the lowest price. Don't have 50 or 60,000 spirit stones, but that doesn't mean you can't produce treasures of comparable value. Brother Zhao, you mean? He thought of the 1,000-year-old spiritual herb he had just sold 2 months ago. Han Xuanwu's eyes lit up instantly. Their daughter Han Qing had already married into the Zhao family. As a father, Han Xuanwu didn't seek much. He sincerely hoped the Zhao family would develop even better. I signaled for him to wait a moment. Then he got up and left the guest bed. Later, he returned, carrying 6 jade boxes of various shapes. Placed the jade box on the table. I picked out a square jade box from inside. After carefully removing the seal, the box was opened. Just as he got a clear look at the spiritual medicine in the box, Han Xuanwu jumped up on the spot, like a hungry wolf pouncing on the jade box, his face full of disbelief. This Chihua Ganoderma has a medicinal age of over 800 years. It should be worth 50 or 60,000 spirit stones. Value. It's worth it. A top-grade foundation establishment pill is in Xiang sect. Internally, it would cost at least 50,000 spirit stones, and there is no market. You can't see it at all in the marketplace outside. The shadow of a high-grade foundation establishment pill. Han Xuanwu rubbed his hands excitedly. Greed flashed in his eyes. Such a tremendous opportunity suddenly appeared. No one can control a chi refining cultivator in front of them. Naturally, I saw the greedy look in his eyes, but I'm not afraid at all. Here you go. What? What did you just say? I didn't hear clearly. Han Xuanwu could hardly believe himself. Ears anxiously pressed for more questions. My expression was calm, but my tone was very solemn. Say, here you go. Big brother, you can't joke about this. It's true. Han Xuanwu immediately confirmed again, smiled and explained. Of course it was true, but you have to agree to a small request from me first. Han Xuanwu was overjoyed after hearing this and quickly patted his chest. Brother Zhao, just say it. Don't say a single request. That's 10. I have no objections, little brother. I smiled and waved my hand. Not even 10 are enough to make you laugh. Hope you can look after the Zhao family for a few years after you reach foundation establishment. It's best to look after Xuanhan or Xuanlan foundation establishment. Han Xuanwu suddenly burst out laughing at these words. He couldn't help but point at me and chuckle. Big brother, what do you want me to say about you? I think you've lived your whole life for your family. Xuanhan or Lan are also my grandsons or granddaughters. If I don't take care of them, who will? I am relieved to have your words. As I spoke, I reached out and pushed Chihua Ji aside. Han Xuanwu gestured for him to put it away. While Han Xuanwu carefully put away the Chihua Ganoderma, I reached out and opened the other jade boxes one by one. Han Xuanwu was stunned after just one glance. Boy, a blood sword grass 1 foot 7 inches long. These 1,500 years. Amberstone orchid is essential for refining high-level talisman demons. It would take at least 700 years to grow to the size of a palm. Each of these special spiritual herbs ranged from several thousand to over 10,000 spirit stones, especially the 1,000-year blood sword grass, which is worth at least tens of thousands of spirit stones. This natural spiritual artifact has an unacceptable quality, alternative growth and affinity. It might even grow into a golden core level treasure, and it's the kind of life-bound magical treasure. Han Xuanwu looked on with envy and couldn't help but envy. Brother Zhao struck a treasure trove. Decades of gathering medicinal herbs. That's all I have in my hand. For the 100-year order. Now even his old secrets were exposed. I shared the reason I had long made up. I don't intend to reveal anything about the Slopeland herb garden to anyone. Shady side of Tianzhu Mountain is too dangerous. The descendants of the Zhao family should just obediently cultivate immortality. Don't gamble with your life. Han Xuanwu said after roughly estimating, except for the blood sword grass. The other 4 items together cost us about 16,000 spirit stones. Han Xuanwu said confidently again, Brother Zhao, you don't have to worry. This amount of spiritual herb is nothing in the Xiang sect. Easily digested internally. Also, my master is a sword cultivator, was quite wealthy. Sell me the blood sword grass and I guarantee you won't lose out. Han Xuanwu's master was an 8th level foundation establishment sword cultivator. The grandmaster was a mid-stage golden core sword cultivator. Sword cultivators are renowned for their formidable combat power. Therefore, Han Xuanwu belongs to the sword cultivation lineage within the Xiang sect. It was considered a prominent stronghold. It was the kind who could have a conversation with a nascent soul ancestor. The reason I dared to set my sights on the centennial order. It also means using the tiger skin to raise the banner. Case. One matter does not trouble 2 rulers. I'll leave the matter of attending the Xiang sect auction to you as well. Han Xuanwu knew the Zhao family's strength was too weak right now. It's not suitable to appear in the film Centennial Order. He had his master backing him up. He was not afraid at all to compete with ordinary foundation establishment cultivation families, especially after acquiring this Chihua Ganoderma, which is over 800 years old. Han Xuanwu believed he was in the master's place. Your status in your heart will rise sharply. Afterwards, the two discussed some details of the matter. By the time the main business was finished, the sky had already darkened. Saying this, I warmly invited Han Xuanwu to stay and take a look at my grandson and granddaughter. After staying at the Zhao residence for 2 days, Han Xuanwu set out to return to Xiang sect. Preparations for the auction began. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed. On this day, Xiangfeng market was decorated with lanterns and colorful decorations. Packed With people, countless cultivators were drawn to this massive auction. They all rushed here, and I brought my son Zhao Cheng and daughter-in-law Han. Naturally, Qingqing wouldn't miss this grand event. When Han Xuanwu entered the auction hall, Zhao Cheng and Han Qingqing also came and went one after another. Major pill shops and spiritual medicine stores purchased many different spiritual medicine seeds. Why buy spiritual medicine seeds? Of course, because I want to take risks again. Take a trip to the Podi Spiritual Herb Garden. Harvesting spiritual herbs is one aspect. On the other hand, I want to take advantage of its unique advantages. The environment, actively cultivate some rare opportunities outside. But it was a very important spiritual herb. For example, the other two main ingredients of the golden pill, Qiyongshan flower and 9-curve ginseng among others. As the saying goes, planning should not be planned for 1,000 years. Cultivating spiritual herbs is only the beginning. A month later, as the last group of Ziyang sect laborers withdrew from Longli Lake, under Han Xuanwu's leadership, the Zhao family, they moved to a lakeside estate. One thing really surprised me. Since moving to Longli Lake, the relationship between Zhao Cheng and Han Qingqing, there was actually a tremendous improvement. The eighth brother Zhao Cheng was diligently cultivating the spiritual fields. Unexpectedly, Han Qingqing became pregnant again. This was truly a tremendous celebration, not only against the Zhao family, especially for me. For the third grandson born in 8 months, I started getting busy. I planned to enter the mountains early. Fasting pili, deodorising powder, a protective jade plaque, half a ritual weapon, a long bow, armor-piercing arrows, a half-magical artifact mixed with a soft sword of gold. As one item after another is bought, the day to enter the mountains has finally arrived. Didn't explain the dangers of this trip to my family. He only said he was going to Tianzhu Mountain to gather herbs. When I was about to leave, I pulled Zhao Cheng aside, secretly handed a brocade pouch to her son. He also said that if he still hadn't returned in half a year, he would open the secret pouch. Although Zhao Cheng was lazy by nature, he was not stupid. He quickly sensed the obvious farewell in his father's words. But no matter how much he tried to persuade her, I never changed my mindset. No, I resolutely bid farewell to my family and set out for Tianzhu Mountain. 3 months later, when I appeared again at Longli Lake, I already have an arm broken. Moreover, his chest and abdomen were covered with deep wounds. It was as if he had been struck by some terrifying monster, as if repeatedly scratching over and over. His body was on the verge of collapse, gravely injured and on the verge of death. As soon as I saw Madame Wang Yuqi, I instantly relaxed, immediately collapsed and lost consciousness. The pillar of the Zhao family suddenly collapsed. The old lady Wang Yuqi was also scared out of her wits. At that moment, Han Qingqing suddenly stepped forward. The situation quickly stabilized. She tightly sealed the message while sent a message talisman to Han Xuanwu. Come to Longli Lake as soon as possible to take charge. Not only Han Xuanwu might save me, and because of Han Qingqing and Zhao Cheng as a couple, while the two were packing, was shocked to find a backpack full of spiritual herbs. Each strain has a medicinal age of several hundred years. Received a message talisman from my precious daughter. Han Xuanwu immediately realized the gravity of the situation, because he knew his daughter very well. If there is no matter of great importance, he won't send him a messenger talisman. So Han Xuanwu immediately abandoned his seclusion. He rented the sect's Wanli cloud carving. It took only half a day to reach Longli Lake. Fortunately, he arrived quickly. He was also carrying a first-tier high-grade resurrection pill. That was how I narrowly escaped my life. It took a full 2 years. Only then did I heal my injuries. But this time, the cost was too high. Not only did I lose an arm, his realm stopped at the innate limit. Moreover, only 60% of his strength remains, and he can never recover. He even wanted to enter the Slope Spirit Herb Garden. I lost 20 years of my lifespan. But in my opinion, in the end, this deal was a win. I've always remembered one sentence in my heart, and do not contend for the length of a single lifetime. Let us pass through 10 lifetimes and see who is better. After this incident, I announced my retirement. From then on, he lived a leisurely life of eating rice and raising his grandchildren. The servants and maids didn't dare to breathe loudly. Outside a room filled with the strong scent of medicine, Zhao Cheng's hair was starting to turn grey, just like I was 60 years ago. He paced anxiously and worriedly in the courtyard. Behind him stood 17 or 18 people. All of them are my descendants. That day was the day his grandson was born, and on the same day, his mother Wang Yuqi was already on the verge of death. At this critical moment, having many close relatives, he actually drove the whole family out. It's simply unreasonable. It's really getting older and more confused. The more Zhao Cheng thought about it, the angrier he got. His expression grew even darker. But if he were to break into the house, he wouldn't have the courage. It's not that I really don't dare, but they really couldn't win. Don't be fooled by his father's nearly 90 years old, but ever since he created the 3 great divine skills 2 years ago, he could easily crush a Qi refining stage 4 opponent, just as Zhao Cheng was both anxious and uneasy. But the atmosphere inside the house was not as sad as imagined. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding my wife Wang Yuqi's hand. With a gentle face, she spoke about the marriage after the two of them got married. Every bit of 70 years, Wang Yuqi's face was as thin as a dry wood, her face covered in brown age spots. At this point, she was already unconscious. She couldn't hear what her husband was saying, yet I seemed to feel no sadness at all. He continued to speak calmly and unhurriedly. No one knows how much time has passed. Wang Yuqi's hand suddenly twitched slightly, her eyelid twitching a few times, slowly opening his eyes stained with white spots. Her eyes were lifeless. Her gaze scattered, and she looked a bit panicked, but after feeling her husband's seasoned dryness, Wang Yuqi immediately relaxed. A relieved smile appeared on his face. Ziga arrived at Xinge. I finally died before you. That's nice, she spoke. Voice was weak and low, almost inaudible. Oh, yes, from now on I'll be living alone in loneliness. I know you're afraid of loneliness, I whispered softly in her ear. Arrived at Xinge. You will always know me best. Do you remember how we first met? I reached out and pressed the blanket into my wife's pocket, chuckling softly. Why don't you remember? I used perfume to lure you and Yuan over, to catch your attention. Back then I even played a piece called High Mountains and Flowing Water. I knew you had bad intentions. Back then I was young and ignorant, which was why you easily tricked me into getting it. Do you regret it? No regrets. Never regret it. Finished. Wang Yuqi's face suddenly turned unusually rosy. The sound became clear again. My heart tightened. He couldn't help but hold his wife's hand tightly. I know this is a last burst of hope. Wang Yuqi suddenly turned her face away. He looked at me with an unusually eager expression, anticipating me. Arrived at Xinge. I want to hear you again. The love poem you gave me back then. At that moment, tears suddenly welled up in my eyes. Her voice trembled slightly as she finished reciting the love poem. Wang Yuqi seemed to have fulfilled her final wish. His face quickly turned pale. Eating is nearly flat and stopped. Only the last shred of consciousness remained. Arrived at Xinge. Suddenly I felt homesick, thinking of my grandparents, my father, my parents, and my sister Yuyan. I thought about going home but hadn't yet said it. She suddenly let go of my right hand weakly. From then on, he stopped breathing forever. Zhang, his wife, passed away. Tears instantly blurred my vision. At that moment, tears streamed down my face when I walked out of the house in despair. Soon, the entire Zhao residence was filled with cries of crying. A month later, in his son, Zhao Cheng, under the watchful eyes of his grandson Zhao Xuanhan and others, I carried my wife's urn and boarded a carriage. Then, under the command of the innate level coachman, the carriage slowly started moving, began sailing toward Ganzhou Liang Kingdom more than 4,000 li away. Winter is gone. Spring is coming. Spring in the 3rd month. Peach blossoms on the peach trees in Nanyang City. Suddenly, all of them bloomed overnight. On the very day the people of Nanyang celebrated the Peach Blossom Festival, a worn-out carriage stopped in front of an old mansion. I just got off the carriage. He saw 7 or 8 men armed with knives and swords. Suddenly, they crowded around and shouted loudly to drive them away. No matter where you come from, hurry up and go. Today, the Zhao family has no visitors from outside. Darling, the coachman Zhao, had taught everything he had learned personally to me. Revered old master Zhao as a deity. Saying this, he suddenly stepped forward and shouted loudly. The innate true energy mixed within the sound waves suddenly erupted. These 7 or 8 men were instantly shattered by the blows. Eardrums and cochlea collapsed to the ground. They screamed in agony. The body completely lost its balance. No matter how much they struggled, they could never get up. At this moment, the 2 men guarding the entrance of the Zhao residence, middle-aged man in red, suddenly changed his expression dramatically. Unlike ordinary underachievers who roam the underworld, those from the Bloodblade sect recognized him at a glance. Ordinary and just like a coachman's footage. Saying things were going badly, the 2 Bloodblade sect disciples were about to run into the Zhao residence. Unexpectedly at that moment, a thin figure with white hair appeared. The armless old man suddenly appeared between the 2. Immediately after, a mountain-heavy aura pressed down. The 2 were instantly completely suppressed. Fortunately, this terrifying aura came and went just as fast. The 2 quickly regained their freedom. However, none of them dared to make a move, let alone reporting the news to the Bloodblade ancestor. Hey, I ask you, what happened at the Zhao residence? Who are you? After withdrawing my innate pressure, I asked the 2 of them. These 2 didn't dare to hide anything. We are all disciples of the Bloodblade sect, but we absolutely mean no harm. It was the Bloodblade ancestor who wanted to take the 3rd young master of the Zhao family as his disciple. Only then did he personally come to the Zhao residence. We were just standing guard outside the door to prevent outsiders from disturbing us. Prisoners. If he really wanted to take on disciples, why would he make such a scene? I stepped into the ancestral home I hadn't returned to in 50 years. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the Zhao residence's reception hall was unusually heavy. The head of the hall sat at the head, a rosy elderly man with a handful of fine beards hanging down. There were only 2 people sitting to his right. Top one is an elderly man wearing a bright red robe with a bald head and a dull face. He was exceptionally tall. His appearance was even more menacing. This man had been a mighty figure in the Ganzhou martial world for half a century. Bloodblade ancestor Chang Meng. And beneath him sat a man, an old Taoist with youthful face and white hair holding a whisk. Behind the 2 stood a row of Bloodblade sect disciples dressed in red. Their temples bulged high. At a glance, it's clear that each one is a rare top-tier expert in the martial world, probably just getting impatient waiting. The Bloodblade ancestor suddenly asked in a gloomy tone, how has your Zhao family made up their minds? When will the ancestor meet my precious disciple? The old man smiled after hearing this. Chang Laozu, you taking Jia as your disciple is a blessing for our Zhao family. Just a bad coincidence. Jia had gone to visit his great-aunt a few days ago. He has not yet returned. Otherwise, when he returns, I asked Jia to take the initiative to become a disciple of the Bloodblade sect. What do you think? Fart. The Bloodblade ancestor cursed loudly. Your Zhao family only knows how to show off your skills. Hurry up and get that kid out. Otherwise, don't blame me for taking action. The old man's name was Zhao Xuanyi. His identity was that of the current head of the Zhao family. He is also Zhao Yuji's biological father. Just as Zhao Xuanyi was in trouble at his side, an aged voice came from outside the door. Was it just now that you wanted to make a move at my Zhao family? As I spoke, I slowly walked into the reception reception hall holding the urn. The coachman Zhao followed closely behind. The blood-blade ancestor saw that the newcomer was an old man, and he even broke an arm which made him mock. Where did the old cripple come from? How dare he challenge the ancestor? The disciples give it to me. Awfully kill on sight. Ancestor. The blood-blade disciple thundered in agreement. Immediately a group of disciples in red wielded their long blades and charged at me at high speed. At this moment the coachman Zhao received my instructions. Suddenly, he fell into the blood-clad crowd. Streams of emerald innate swords shot out from his palm. No blood-blade disciple could withstand this terrifying sword strike. Heads and bodies scattered in confusion. Blood-blade ancestor Chang Meng was deeply shocked. Who is this person? Holy. Why is it that a mere attendant is also an innate martial master? Zhao Ziying carefully sized up the elderly man with the severed arm a few steps away. He always felt it looked very familiar. It felt like I had seen it somewhere before. Saying this, I looked back at him and couldn't help but sigh. Third brother, I haven't seen you for so many years, though you're getting old too. Ninth brother, you are the ninth brother, Zhao Jiqin. How can it be? Zhao Ziying could hardly believe his eyes. Old nine, where have you been all these years? Why didn't you come back a few years earlier? Are all dead. All the elders and brothers were dead. Liang Sheng achieved merit. Zai Rai and the other juniors also died. Now only I am left barely clinging to life. Why didn't you come back early? At the end, Xiao Ziying couldn't help but shed tears. His face was filled with bitter desolation. Hearing this, I trembled all over. I just heard a name I least want to hear. Truly meritorious. My eldest son has actually passed away. It turned out he ultimately chose to return to the Zhao family. The white-haired man sent the black-haired man. There is no greater suffering in the world than this. But even more painful was when her son passed away. Not only did the father not see him one last time, he didn't even know when he was gone. I am definitely not a qualified father. I once personally took my seventh, sending his own flesh and blood onto the carriage. In the end, I watched helplessly as they each sailed off into unknown distances. At that moment, my heart suddenly felt an overwhelming bitterness. Thought he was rational enough, but I was wrong. At that moment, the blood-blade ancestor, suddenly he stood up cautiously and said, "That one, I still have something to do. I will take my leave first." A nameless anger suddenly welled up inside me. Manhwa, the powerful aura of an innate extreme martial artist, suddenly erupted. It instantly flooded the entire reception hall. The blood-saber ancestor who bore the brunt suddenly bulged his eyes outward. He felt as if everything before his eyes was blood red, and endless killing intent surged toward him. In the eyes of everyone, all they saw was the word noise as soon as it appeared. The head of the blood-blade ancestor. Suddenly, without warning, it fell from her neck. Some people saw the whole process of my intervention. This man was the old Taoist from Chang Meng's side. He saw with his own eyes an incredibly fast and unbelievable speed. Blue light shot out from the sleeve, hanging down from the old man with the severed arm. In an instant it slashed across the blood-blade ancestor's neck. Moreover, he didn't sense even the slightest fluctuation of spiritual energy, but that made it even more terrifying. The old Taoist suddenly knelt down with a thud, repeatedly kowtowing and begging for mercy. Over the years I've killed more than 24 chi refining cultivators. A mere innate grandmaster is nothing worth mentioning. I ignored the old Taoist. Instead, he looked at Zhao Ziying. Zhao Ziying cleared his throat and said to the old Taoist, "Explain things clearly. You can lie. If you hide anything, I will make your life worse than death." The old Taoist was overjoyed at the sight. Immediately posted the entire sequence on the forum. It turned out that 3 months ago, the Liang Kingdom's Black Ice Terrace, suddenly a secret bounty mission was issued. The mission was to capture the third young master of the Zhao family. Zhao Yuji invited him to Jingfeng City, the capital of Liang State. The blood-blade ancestor coveted the rich bounty for the mission, so I took on this task ahead of time. But after arriving in Nanyang City, no trace of Zhao Yuji could be found. It seems that the Duke of Dongling is not going to die of treachery. Our Zhao family has refused repeatedly. He actually wanted to forcibly recruit Yuji to marry into the family. It's simply hard to understand. An elder spoke up indignantly, but Zhao Xuanyi wore a bitter smile. Duke of Dongling was a branch of the Liang royal family, and the Liang family is a foundation establishment cultivation clan. This is why the Duke of Dongling persists in this way. It probably wasn't just about finding a son-in-law. They are even more likely to use Jia as a tool for childbirth. The clan elders were unaware of the situation. That's why they can't understand Duke Dongling's reckless actions. It should be known that the descendants of cultivators do not necessarily have spiritual roots, and the rate of spiritual root birth will rapidly decline generation after generation. If 5 generations of descendants have no spiritual roots, this means they will never have descendants with spiritual roots in the future. Family of the Duke of Dongling is now here. They were faced with such an extremely difficult situation. At this point, Zhao Zijing had already made up his mind. He spoke up and asked Pen Kun, proclaiming bravery. Shuang Xin, you two take this person away and interrogate him in detail again. See if any details are missing. After Zhao Xiying finished speaking, he turned to look at me and invited me to go to the inner study and have a chat. 2 hours later, after hearing about the ups and downs the Zhao family has endured over the years, her heart was filled with both sorrow and emotion. Back then, after I fled with my family, the head of the family at the time, Zhao Hexing, suddenly he personally killed everyone who knew about it. Then he ordered the clan members to scatter and hide, and in the end, he did not establish himself. His death was truly heroic. Just 1 day later, Zhou family indeed tracked them down. However, everyone who knew about my family's escape was already dead. Unable to find any clues, the Zhou family went berserk. He went on a massacre at the Zhou family. After the Zhou family left, Zhao Jiahen, the 3 branches of Yi suffered heavy casualties. More than half of the direct descendants have perished. The Zhao family's vitality was severely damaged. No choice but to shrink his sphere of influence and choose to ambush and lick the wound. Until 30 years later, Zhao Ziying was promoted to the rank of Xianxia. Only then did the Zhao family finally recover. For decades, of my 7 children, only the eldest son is present. 10 years later, Zhao Chenggong returned to the Zhao family with his wife and children, and his son was none other than Zhao Xuanyi. When Zhao Xuanyi knelt down and kowtowed to me, for a moment my heart was filled with mixed joy and sorrow. My emotions extremely complicated. My eldest son Zhao Chenggong never made it back to me, passed away 3 years ago. But Zhao Chenggong was lucky. At least he could still be buried in the ancestral land. Instead it was Cheng Feng. All these 6 have been missing for so many years. I don't know if he is still alive today. After the grandfather and grandson reunited, I briefly recounted all the things that have happened on my side over the decades. A magnificent and mysterious world of cultivation. Cultivator who draws talismans, casts spells and flies by controlling artifacts. Various unheard of spiritual plants and medicines and so on. All of this shocked the two of them. He grew increasingly envious of those cultivators who could live for hundreds or even thousands of years. When he heard that the Zhao family had already established a foundation in the cultivation world, when the family already had 4 qi refining cultivators, Zhao Qiying and Zhao Xuanyi were visibly excited. After exchanging glances, he quickly confessed to the Zhao family, there is also a cultivator here, Zhao Yuyi. He is 15 years old this year. The 3 spiritual roots of metal, wood and fire. Qi refining, first level cultivation. He was the 3rd son of Zhao Xuanyi. He is also my great-grandson. I was overjoyed to hear this news. But when I learned another unexpected piece of news, I suddenly stood up. What did you say? Yuyan was actually still alive? Where is she now? Zhao Xuanyi nodded. Grandfather, great-aunt is indeed still alive. She now lives in seclusion in Lingcheng. You should know the place. The of us are there. Hearing this, I couldn't wait to say, no way. I'm going to find her now. As I spoke, my figure flashed, and I instantly appeared at the door. The coachman Zhao drove the carriage swiftly into Ling City. Finally, they stopped in front of a small courtyard. After getting off the carriage, I looked at the sign at the entrance that read Zhao Residence. He felt deeply moved. He couldn't help but feel even more guilty. Back then, I was only focused on arranging for my family to escape, but he didn't have time to pay attention to Wang Yuyan. She always believed that she and the Wang family had both died in Fanjin Valley. Unexpectedly, she managed to escape disaster. Just as I was slowly recalling some things from back then, suddenly, the sound of a zither came from within the courtyard wall. The sound of the zither comes and goes. It's like a beginner playing an unfamiliar piece. It was only when it reached my ears, a long-sealed Guqin melody suddenly came to mind. High mountains and flowing water. It's been so long since I last played. Thinking this, I lightened my footing. His body slowly rose off the ground. Then it floated over the wall, flying into a garden with mountains and water. At this moment, in the octagonal pavilion in the center of the garden, a young man with a face as beautiful as jade sat upright behind a chin table. He was awkwardly plucking the Guqin in front of him. See this scene. Suddenly I felt as if I had returned to that afternoon 70 years ago. 2 beauties traveled together, her beautiful eyes glancing along. The smile was charming and charming. At that moment the boy noticed my figure, and his face changed drastically. He immediately asked with a wary and cautious expression, who are you? Why did you break into my Zhao family? Looking at the boy who looked somewhat like me, I said with a smile, don't be afraid, kids. I mean no harm. Today I came only to see an old friend I hadn't seen in a long time, but it would be better not to say anything. At the mention of it, Zhao Yuji actually became even more nervous. Who are you? Don't say it. Don't blame me for being rude. As he spoke, Zhao Yuji flipped his right hand and suddenly 2 vermilion talismans appeared in his hand, and seeing this I couldn't help but chuckle. Unexpectedly, the first meeting between grandfather and grandson turned out to be so fierce and intimate. After seeing the Gucci, I quickly came up with a solution. You played the wrong way just now. High mountains and flowing water. Aren't that springing? Zhao Yuji exclaimed in surprise upon hearing this. You know I play with a flowing stream. I smiled proudly and said, this high mountains and flowing water qi melody was created by me. You say I know or not? No way. Xiao Baoyi suddenly became furious and said coldly, Grandma said, only a few people in the world know this piece. You can never be one of them. I directly extended my right hand. 5 fingers bent and stretched. Pressing downward lightly. 5 strands of purple-blue innate true energy shot out from his fingertips. It instantly connected to the string of the zither to zhang away. As the 5 fingers continuously pressed the buckle in the air, the strings of the guqin were continuously drawn by innate true energy. And beautiful and ethereal melody after another flowed out. It quickly spread from the garden to the surrounding courtyards. Hearing this familiar melody, Zhao Yuji was instantly stunned on the spot. Her heart was full of doubts. Who is this old man with a severed arm? Don't! However, halfway through the strings suddenly became discordant. A piercing clang rang out. Everything came to an end in summer. My body stiffened. He slowly turned his head to look at the corner gate of the garden. There was a thin old woman with a head full of white hair, standing there. 50 years of wind, frost, rain and snow. Although the beauties of the past have all been worn away by time, I still recognized the newcomer's identity at a glance. The two gazed at each other for a long time, until my excited heart gradually calmed down. Only then did he speak with difficulty. Jade smoke. I'm back. Wang Yuyan looked at the old man with the severed arm beneath the octagonal pavilion. His feelings were extremely complicated. 50 years is far too long. Too much hope and passion have been extinguished. She thought she would lose control of her emotions. But when the two truly reunited, Wang Yuyan found herself unusually calm. Like a wife who has lived alone for decades, suddenly she saw her husband who hadn't returned for a long time. It still feels so familiar. Wang Yuyan slowly walked up to me. He greeted calmly. Long time no see. You okay? He suddenly fell silent for a moment. Then he whispered, I'm okay. What about you? Not good at all. I was instantly frozen. Seeing me like this, Wang Yuyan suddenly smiled. In an instant it felt as if he had returned to the past. He complained, many years have passed since I last met. How did you become stupid? Where did your sweet talk from youth go? I shook my head and sighed. Old? He was so old. He was almost confused. You are old too. You're all getting old. Wang Yuyan didn't respond, instead changing the subject with a question. What about Yuki? Is she okay? Is his temperament still as impatient as before? Hearing this, my expression froze. After hesitating for a moment, he spoke in a low voice. 3 months ago. Chimei has already passed away. Smile had just appeared on Wang Yuan's face. It instantly vanished without a trace. After a long while, tears welled up in her eyes as she murmured to herself, he's dead. Are all dead. Now I am the only one left in the Wang family. I quickly comforted her. You still have me. Yuyan shook her head after hearing this and said coldly, you're not part of my Wang family. I am the son-in-law of the Wang family, but a straightforward and sincere son. Yuji and many other descendants also carry Wang family blood. Yuyan, you are not alone. Cough. Suddenly a cough interrupted their conversation. Looking from the side, Zhao Yuji stood there in the octagonal pavilion looking utterly embarrassed. 3 days later, the northwest corner of the Zhao family ancestral cemetery. A new grave was erected. Zhao Xuanyi and his wife, as well as several great-grandchildren such as Zhao Yuji. With a solemn expression, he faced Wang Yuki's tombstone, formed the grand ceremony of 3 bows and 9 seals. Saying this, Wang Yuyan was already sobbing uncontrollably. Perhaps he was deeply shocked. The very day she returned, Wang Yuan suddenly fell ill and couldn't get up. Out of a sense of guilt, I stayed by her side every day despite my fatigue. Because of his age, Wang Yuan's illness never improved. At first, he could even get out of bed and walk around. By the later stages, his body was too weak to get out of bed. During Wang Yuan's illness, took care of her while I was on the go. Meanwhile, he secretly arranged for Zhao Xuanyi, Zhao Yuji, and some other members of the Zhao family secretly migrating to Longli Lake. The Zhao family had just established a foundation at Longli Lake. It was precisely during a time of severe population shortage. At this time, some people were relocated over. It can quickly strengthen the family's foundation. I saw this decades ago. Ao Cheng and his wife were both impatient and lazy. One is a cultivation fanatic. Neither of them was cut out to manage the family. Zhao Xuanyi was the head of the Nanyang family. Naturally, his abilities are self-evident. When he arrived at Longli Lake, it was just right to help Zhao Cheng and his wife, managing general affairs and ordinary clan members. As waves of Zhao family members kept migrating to Longli Lake, time was passing little by little. 3 years later, the autumn wind is bleak and bleak. Zhao family ancestral cemetery. A tombstone was erected next to Wang Yuki's grave. I sat on the stone steps in front of the tombstone, looking at the few lines of text on the tombstone. His expression remained calm and silent for a long time. Jade, smoke. I said I wanted to give you a proper status, but you never agreed while alive. You want me to owe you for a lifetime. I once wrote a love poem for Chimei. Now I'll give you a song too, but you won't say I'm unfair when you see Chimei. The autumn wind blows away the dead leaves that have fallen on the stone tablet, revealing several lines of text on the stela. Ask what love is in the world, yet it makes one pledge life and death to each other. Travelers fly together from south to north. How many times have their aged wings endured cold and heat? Joyful and joyful. Parting is bitter. Among them, there are even more foolish lovers. You must have something to say. Dust beneath layers of clouds stretch for 10,000 miles. Thousands of mountains and snow at dusk. To whom does the solitary shadow go? The sun slowly set. The bleak autumn wind stroked the inscription on the tombstone again and again. I hold my aging body together. He stood up from the stone steps. His body was upright. Manshan walked toward the distance. Just now I was entering the end of my 3rd life. A book appeared in my mind. The 100 Generations book, shimmering with jade-like light. The 100 Life book begins. Nearly a century of memories and emotions from the 3rd lifetime are extracted from the world. My mind suddenly became incredibly clear. It was as if a heavy burden was lifted from the air in an instant. During this process, I finally drew a spiritual root constitution. Even though it was the 4 spiritual roots constitution of metal, water, wood, and earth, but I can finally cultivate immortality. At the same time, based on the evaluation of the 3rd life, I also gained a new talent, rock hand. As the name suggests, his hands are as steady as a rock. Soon I woke up from the darkness again. Countless memories quickly surfaced in his mind. It has been more than 280 years since I died. The Zhao family has also been rooted in Longli Lake for nearly 300 years. There are 31 cultivators. 70 years after I died, Zhao Shuang successfully advanced to foundation establishment. From then on, the Zhao family finally established a foothold. No longer need to borrow Han Xuanwu's reputation. Han Xuanwu had already advanced to foundation establishment sword cultivator while I was still alive. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to form his core. However, the Zhao family's current situation was somewhat dire. To compete for the chance to take the foundation establishment pill, the Zhao family is now deeply divided within the family. The internal conflict between the 2 branches was extremely intense. The Zhao family's 2 branches never had deep feelings to begin with. It was only under my influence that the 2 Zhao families eventually merged together. The first 100 years, 2nd branch had many cultivators, plus with Han Xuanwu backing him up. Thus he controlled most of the Zhao family's power, although Zhao Xuanyi of the main branch managed general affairs and clan members. But because they are mortals, he can only play the role of a manager, especially after the 2nd wife, Zhao Shuang, successfully laid the foundation. The entire Zhao family was completely dominated by the 2nd branch. If it keeps going like this, that's fine. At least so many disputes wouldn't have occurred later. However, the world is unpredictable. Zhao Xuanyi's son Zhao Yuji was both remarkable in perseverance and luck. At 93, he made a desperate gamble. He actually succeeded. At that time, the Zhao family had 2 foundations. Its reputation spread far and wide, shaking the surrounding miniature cultivation families. The Zhao family's influence also expanded rapidly. The cultivation clan members are growing more and more. It finally reached its peak 180 years ago. At that time, the Zhao family had over 100 cultivators. One family 2 foundations. More than 10 people in the late Qi refining stage. Strength rivals that of a 1,000-year-old foundation establishment cultivation family. Even more gratifying thanks to Han Xuanwu's mediation. The Xiang sect agreed to let the Zhao family continue renting Longley Lake for 200 years. However, 150 years ago, Zhao Xuang, at the 4th level of foundation establishment, suddenly he disappeared for no reason while out and about. Since then there has been no trace of him. Zhao Yuji was the only foundation establishment cultivator left in the Zhao family. Overnight, the Zhao family changed its regime. For the first time, the main branch seized control of the family. He began to suppress the second wife intentionally or unintentionally. 90 years ago, Zhao Yuji passed away while seated. Zhao Shonga of the main branch was promoted to foundation builder, continued to hold the Zhao family's power. At the same time, he chose to secretly suppress Lai Fang. Until a year ago, Zhao Chonga was fatally wounded. The Zhao family suddenly lost a foundation establishment cultivator to oversee it. Family power was in a vacuum for a year. Due to the ongoing internal strife between the 2 branches, the Zhao family's power was greatly weakened. The relationship between the 2 families deteriorated rapidly. 2 months ago, the Zhao family used their family heritage to win a foundation establishment pill. Later, the 2 branches of the Zhao family were determined to select candidates to take the foundation establishment pill. Extremely intertwined. If it weren't for the nearby cultivation factions lurking nearby, the 1st and 2nd branches probably made a move long ago. Back in his own courtyard, I couldn't wait to enter the cultivation room. In the last 2 draws before reincarnation, I drew the yellow tier talon bullet time. Ordinary level constitution is at the basic self-healing stage. Once the bullet time is triggered, the whole world suddenly slows down many times before your eyes. Time seemed to stand still. Each session lasts 2 seconds. There's nothing more to say about basic self-healing, but bullet time looks quite promising. Thinking of this, I cast aside distractions and slowly focused my consciousness. When consciousness condenses into a point, it's like suddenly a layer of invisible barrier pierced through pain. I suddenly realized the world before my eyes nearly came to a standstill. In a sense, it means the flow of time has slowed down by 3 times. After testing out the newly acquired talent, calmed myself down, begin my first cultivation in this life. It felt as if a long time had passed. It all seemed like an instant. Suddenly dense crowds appeared in the surrounding darkness. Colorful spiritual energy particles. In a state of mental introspection, I saw driven by consciousness. Deep within his dantian was a vortex of black spiritual energy. Began to slowly rotate. Invisible suction forces were generated one after another. Gradually, the metal, wood, water, and earth in the air. 4 types of spiritual energy particles were drawn into the vortex. Then the gold, wood, and earth tricolor particles were thrown out of his body. But the water elemental spiritual energy was gradually crushed and slowly merged into the spiritual power. After cultivating for a while, I was caught up in the dark and windy night. We arrived at the shore of Longley Lake. Find a large rock by the shore. 2 people tall. He walked around the big rock. Soon beneath a horn-shaped protrusion, he quickly began digging. A moment later, I dug out a package from a 3-foot deep taxi pit. Inside were over 100 low-grade spirit stones, each about the size of milky white eyeballs. A 3-inch-long ancient bronze flying sword, 3 pieces of ink-colored crystal, a small arrow with a ghastly green hue. These spirit stones and magical tools were refined into materials. It was one of the backup plans I left in my previous life. Now it really comes in handy. 1 month later in the meditation room, I woke from meditation. Suddenly an excited smile appeared. After a month of intensive retreat, I have finally broken through to the 2nd level of Qi refining. Of course, the cost is not small. I finished all 6 bottles of Linjuan pills in one go. The Zhao family had a clansman named Zhao Keru. He is the only alchemist in the Zhao family. The Linjuan pill was his creation. My plan: alchemy is a must, a cultivation skill to learn. But alchemy burns too much of a spirit stone. Now conditions do not allow it. I plan to start by drawing talismans. After coming out of the meditation room, suddenly I saw his personal servant Zhao Tai. Sheng was anxious and uneasy, waiting at the door of the meditation room. Zhao Tai immediately shouted, "Master!" "Oh no, go and take a look. The men are about to start fighting with the people from the 2nd branch." This morning, the Zhao clan elder from the 2nd branch suddenly led the Wei family members. He came looking for him with a fierce aura. "You insist on arguing with us." The Lashan Wei family was a marriage alliance of the Zhao family. The family seat in Lashan is located 200 li southwest of Longley Lake. At the foot of the mountain was a 1st-tier high-grade spiritual vein. Wei family has a foundation establishment cultivator. 7 were late Qi refining cultivators. Their strength surpasses that of the current Zhao family. Thinking of Elder Zhao Jinggang of the 2nd branch, suddenly I felt a storm brewing in my heart. The Wei family came with ill intent. Most likely they came for the foundation establishment pill. Even worse, it targeted the Zhao family. The Zhao family is now constantly scheming among themselves, surrounded by external enemies. Without foundation establishment cultivators to hold the position. It was the time when their strength was at its weakest. Thinking of this, I immediately asked, "Where are they now?" "At Tongshin Hall on Shayu Island." Zhao Tai said without hesitation. Hearing this, my heart suddenly skipped a beat, and I thought to myself, this is bad. Yuyua Island is the Zhao family's most secluded territory. Outsiders were always forbidden from entering, because that was the location of the Longley Lake defensive formation. It was also the Zhao family's last refuge when facing the threat of extinction. Now the people from the 2nd branch are actually bringing the Wei family into Yuyu Island. Was clearly luring the wolf into the room. When I hurried to the boardwalk, but he found that 2 of them were already wearing black talismans on their heads. The unfamiliar cultivator with the crown was guarding the entrance. They were all members of the Wei family. The Wei family cultivator shouted sternly, "You're late." Back and forth from where? Hearing this, I focused my mind and shouted loudly, "I am a member of the Zhao clan. Wasn't your Wei family hired by my 2nd grandfather to lend a helping hand? Do you really want to side with the main branch now?" As soon as he heard I was from the 2nd branch, the 2 members of the Wei family hurriedly stepped aside. I smiled and nodded to the 2 of them. Then he quickly slipped through between the two and entered Yuzuki Island. Just entered the Hall of Unity. A burst of quarrels and arguments between the two immediately erupted. In Tongxin Hall, the two branches of the Zhao family's cultivation clan each occupied one side of the main hall. They were facing off against each other. On the left are people from the main branch. There were quite a few people, including myself. There are only 11. The other 6 were not stationed in the market. Means he had gone out and had not yet returned. Looking back at the two branches, not only were all 14 cultivators present, among them were several unfamiliar cultivators. The Wei family patriarch Wei Cheng personally arrived. I blended into the main house like a nobody. He stood next to Zhao Chongwei, who was at the very back. Soon I learned the second branch's intentions. They didn't just want foundation establishment pills. He also had to hand over the warehouse to the main house, suture repository and 8 training rooms, the 4 great essentials of cultivation determining the law, wealth and companionship. The second branch immediately took up third of the house. This was clearly an attempt to seize power and seize the class. At this point, the quarrel between the elders of the two branches gradually escalated. The war of words has escalated to now. They dare to expose any dirt on the outside. He filled his pockets, messing around, shoddy, embezzlement, and all sorts of messy misdeeds. It made my face darken and my anger surge. The descendants are disappointing. No wonder the Zhao family's life has gotten harder year after year over the years. But while I was angry, I also sensed something was off. Today's situation is truly strange. The memory of the predecessor, Zhao Jinding and Zhao Jinggang. The two clan elders have always paid close attention to their image. It shouldn't be done in front of the younger clansmen. Such a loss of composure and a heated argument. Very strange. It was as if both of them were deliberately stalling for time, saying that arguing like this would yield no result. Wei Cheng, the foundation establishment patriarch of the Wei family, coughed. Suddenly he stepped forward. As soon as the foundation establishment cultivator appeared, no one dared to ignore him. Wei Cheng spoke. Please listen to me, both of you. You are all descendants of the Zhao family. Blood is thicker than water. There was never deep hatred or hatred. Don't let a mere foundation establishment pill ruin your harmony. This he turned to Zhao Jinding and tried to persuade him. You also grew up watching me as an in-law. I want to speak fairly with the elders. Your main branch has indeed gone a bit too far these past few years. For over 100 years, did the Zhao family's second branch ever obtain a foundation establishment pill? Is that Zhao Jinding was about to make the difference? Was suppressed by Wei Cheng's foundation establishment pressure. So, I believe this foundation establishment pill wheel is now the second branch's turn. Coincidentally, Vajra had already advanced to the peak of Qi refining realm. Handing him the foundation establishment pill to take was not a waste at all. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the second branch was overjoyed. In contrast, the main branch was extremely dejected. At that moment, Zhao Jinding suddenly let out a muffled groan. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Relying on self-harm, he broke free from Wei Cheng's restraints and said angrily, "This is a family matter of my Zhao family. Senior Wei is like a sister who can take over the trouble. It has already ruined the fairness of the cultivation world." Just then, 3 people suddenly walked in from outside Tongxin Hall. The one walking in the middle of the 3 was dressed in a purple robe, a middle-aged cultivator embroidered with a golden small sword on IT. This man had red hair and a golden face. His physique was formidable. The unabashed powerful foundation establishment pressure. To his left was an old man with goosebumps and white hair. On the right is a young man, handsome, dashing and cheerful in temperament, a pair of narrow fox-like eyes on his face. The main room was like water pouring into oil, and the pot suddenly exploded. Everyone quickly showed expressions of excitement. They all raised their heads in unison. Straight in your chest. The reinforcements they had been waiting for finally arrived. The visitor was named Zhao Jinfu. He was none other than the main branch of the Zhao family. He was also the direct great-great-grandson of Zhao Chong, the foundation of the Zhao family. His stance was beyond question. Zhao Jinfu, born with the 3 spiritual roots of metal, fire, and wood. Among the spiritual roots, gold spiritual roots account for 70%. In the Zhao family's 300-year history, he is considered the most gifted. 6 years ago, he successfully joined the sect of the Ziyang sect. At just 28, he had already reached the 7th level of Qi refining. Zhao Jinding waved excitedly repeatedly. You finally made it. This senior was invited by you. As he spoke, he looked at him with a look of awe. That foundation establishment cultivator from the Ziyang sect. However, Zhao Jinfu showed no trace of a smile on his face. He asked coldly, 10,000 miles one-line talisman can only be used in the most dangerous moments. Each family only has 1 copy. You actually dare to use it without permission over such a trivial matter. It seems I was right. The Zhao family is rotten to the core. What do you mean by that? Zhao Jinding was taken aback and asked in surprise and doubt. Zhao Jinfu raised his voice, spoke loudly word by word in front of everyone. I said the Zhao family was already rotten to the core. This family doesn't wait. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. Even the second branch was no exception. Back to trouble. Seriously, the only person most likely to establish foundation establishment in the entire Zhao family was Zhao Jinfu alone. Reason the Zhao family has been so frugal these past few years. A major reason is to cultivate extensively. Resources were invested in Zhao Jinfu. Don't be fooled by the fact that the 2 elders are fighting over foundation establishment. Dan was almost out of his mind, but neither of them was certain whether the Zhao family could establish their foundation. Zhao Yinggang suddenly stepped in to smooth things over. Oh, what are you talking about? You are the direct great-grandson of the Chong patriarch. Did not stay at the Zhao household. Where else could you go? At that moment, the goosebump-haired old lady lady suddenly spoke. Her voice was a stark contrast to her appearance. The tone is exceptionally crisp. He can come back to the Wei family with me. Upon hearing this, Zhao Jinding immediately flew into a rage and shouted angrily, "Who are you? This is our Zhao family's family affair. How could an outsider like you get to interfere?" The words did not fall. A giant earth yellow palm flashed by. Zhao Jinding was instantly slapped far away. He fell to the ground coughing up blood repeatedly. No one expected this unremarkable appearance. The old man was actually a Foundation Establishment cultivator himself. At this moment, a Foundation Establishment cultivator from the Xiang sect. The cultivator suddenly chuckled twice, stepped forward smiling broadly. "I received a sect mission. The original intention was to provide aid. Before coming, I thought your Zhao family was about to collapse. Looking back now, it was a complete farce." At this point, his tone suddenly turned cold, and he scolded harshly. "Monkey business. The Xiang sect issued the 10,000 Li thread. Is this how you should use talismans? Your Zhao family is truly disappointing. You useless people." Back then, Master Han spared no effort in exhausting all his connections and favors. That's why you renewed the lease for Longli Lake for 200 years. Now it seems he was completely wrong. "I dare to ask my seniors, you and Ancestor Han are?" Zhao Yingang asked in surprise and doubt. At this moment, Zhao Jinfu quickly introduced it. "Uncle Chen's master is the sword maniac Taoist." The Zhao family immediately understood when they heard this. Sword maniac Taoist is the eldest disciple of Ancestor Han Xuanbu. Back then, he had a good relationship with the Zhao family. To be precise, she was closer to the second branch. Zhao Yingang said happily, his face full of joy. It turns out their family, Xinyo Chen, the younger Zhao Jingang, came from the second branch of the Zhao family. "I was rude just now." Uncle Chen waved his hand, sending out a flash of sword light. This stopped Zhao Jingang from bowing down. He spoke gently. "Master Han is the person I admire most in Chen Zihuan. Second branch has him on you. No need for formalities." Zhao Yingang looked even more excited. At the same time, he took the opportunity to withdraw his bowing motion. In just a few short sentences, the main branch had already sensed the situation. This time, they probably didn't bring reinforcements, but it is a wicked guess. The people of the main branch were stunned. Zhao Jinding, who was coughing up blood, was also dumbfounded. At this moment, Wei Cheng, unwilling to be lonely, stepped forward and spoke in a warm tone. Unexpectedly, Taoist Chen was so close to the second branch. This old Wei Cheng is related by marriage to the second branch. To be honest, we're not outsiders either. Chen Zixuan glanced at Wei Cheng. He immediately started chatting with him. In just a few words, the two quietly grew closer. Old man beside him deliberately reminded Chen Zixuan when he saw him via Chen Daoyu. "It's important to get down to business." Chen Zixuan nodded and stopped talking. Then he said to Zhao Jingang, "Let me introduce you to it. This is Senior Wei from the Fulong Wei family in Western Wilderness, a late-stage Foundation Establishment expert. Senior Wei has come today for the disciple of Jinfu. To be precise, he was to bring his junior nephew back to the Wei family to acknowledge his ancestry." "Isn't Zhao Jinfu from the Zhao family? How did he become part of the Wei family again?" The clan members of the Chong-style clan in Tongxin Hall were all confused. However, at this moment, all the older ones had changed their expressions. This involves an extremely private scandal within the Zhao family. The younger generation doesn't know. They are clear. Back in the day, Zhao Chongge had a legacy. A granddaughter named Zhao Changxi was deeply loved by the ancestors. However, back then she committed something that brought shame to her family. Zhao Changxi was away for half a year. After returning, someone discovered that she was actually pregnant and she was carrying a bastard child. Everyone asked who her child's father was, but Zhao Changxi would never say a word. Back then, because of this matter, ancestor Zhao Chong was furious. After Zhao Changxi gave birth, he married her far away, thousands of miles away. From then on, she became a taboo in the Zhao family, and no one dared mention her. But what no one expected was, this bastard actually had a spiritual root, and he was exceptionally gifted, extraordinarily intelligent. Could it be that Jinfu's father is actually from the Wei family? Thinking of this, all those who knew the situation felt a sense of foreboding. At this moment, Zhao Jinding struggled to get off the ground. He got up and rushed forward, loudly arguing, "You are mistaken. The golden talisman is a direct descendant of the Zhao family. No way he could be one of your Wei family members." The old man gave a cold smile. "This old woman has already tested it with a third-tier bloodline talisman. He definitely carries the bloodline of our Wei family, and their blood ties are extremely close to my family's ancestor. Could a third-tier bloodline talisman still go wrong?" Zhao Jinding was left speechless. Still, he held on to a last glimmer of hope and looked at Zhao Jinfu. Zhao Jinfu suddenly interrupted him from the start. He spoke in a calm tone. "My surname is Wei. Naturally, my surname is Wei too. This Zhao surname is better left unwanted. From today, I changed my name to wife. From now on, I have nothing to do with your Zhao family. You beast. The Zhao family has done you a bad job all these years." Zhao Jinding was trembling with anger. The ancestors' remains were not yet cold. Zhao Jinfu actually took the Zhao family's life. Grace and nurturing grace were completely forgotten. Went to seek refuge with the so-called Wei family. The old man waved his sleeve. He looked like a mad tiger wanting to rush forward and hit someone. Zhao Jinding was once again slapped far away. He rolled 7 or 8 times on the ground. Blood flowed from all 7 orifices. Zhao Yingang remained very calm. He thought for a moment and asked, "What's so good about the Wei family? Even if the Wei family is stronger than the Zhao family, but you are the grandson of the Zhao family. Once you reach Foundation Establishment, the Zhao family will be handed over to you sooner or later." A trace of mockery and hatred flashed across Zhao Jinfu's face as he spoke. "Zhao family. Look at your 2 branches of the Zhao family. They fought over a mere Foundation Establishment pill. Fram, colluding with outsiders. Saeed." He pointed to the plaque in the main hall, inscribed with the 3 characters, Tongxin Hall, Concentric Hall. "What a joke. Zhao family. I'm not rare. Zhao's family. I don't want to be either." He took out a storage pouch. pouch. Over the years, your Zhao family has given me the things I have. Today, I'm giving you back double. Zhao Jinfu stared at everyone in the main house, looking over one by one. I also saw my calm expression. He was very surprised. He hadn't expected such a person to exist in the main house. I observed his appearance. Zhao Jinfu suddenly recalled. This person seems to be named Zhao Chonghei. After thinking it over, he made up his mind. Your Zhao family is rotten to the core. Only one person could barely catch a glimpse. Today I will hand the items over to him to handle. With that, he placed the storage pouch into my arms. Then on, the Zhao family at Longli Lake had nothing to do with me again. After saying this, Zhao Jinfu turned around without any hesitation. He strode out of Tongxin Hall. Zhao family. After the Wei family elder sneered twice, he also turned and followed Zhao Jinfu. Her eyes. The Zhao family, which doesn't even have foundation establishment cultivators, is nothing short of a joke. He wasn't even qualified to carry shoes for the Wei family. Wai Cheng watched the elder Wai leave. He thought to himself that this farce should finally come to an end, so he gave Zhao Yingang a meaningful look. Zhao Yingang understood and nodded slightly. He strode up to me and shouted, "Ring!" The main branch's clan members instantly exploded. Old stuff. Trying to grab the storage bag. First we need to ask our main branch if they agree. The golden talisman is one of our main branch. The storage pouch was also given to our main house. Naturally we handle things ourselves, rushing and harmonizing. I'm here. Take good care of things. Don't let anyone snatch it away. Everyone in the Zhao family knew. Over the years the family invested in Zhao Jin. How vast are the resources on the talisman? It could be said that buying another foundation establishment pill was more than enough, let alone double the price. Since things were beyond repair, most of the clan quickly changed their minds. Turn your attention to me. Zhao Jinpeng usually looked down on me at all, but at that moment he rushed forward like a madman, stood in front of me and cursed Zhao Jingang out loud. What a shameless old fool. That beast said our main branch would handle it. You actually dare to come up and snatch it. Have you even forgotten the ancestral rules of your family? Don't forget the Zhao family is still in charge of the main branch right now. Zhao Yingang replied, mention the rules. You've forgotten that I am also an elder of the clan? The head of the household was not present. I have the authority to handle any matters concerning the Zhao family. At that moment, Shen Zihuan suddenly felt light and light. He threw out a sentence. In that case, why don't you choose a family head right now? Wai Cheng picked up the conversation just right. Chen Daoyu made a good point. As in laws. I agree. Who objected? Shen Zihuan added, in the fairest way. Now, every member of the Zhao family has a vote to choose, but it can be cast in your chosen homeowner. Now, inside Tongxin Hall, the main branch had only 11 people, but the second branch had 14 people. No matter how you look at it, it's obvious you'll lose. Zhao Jinding was like an immortal cockroach. At the critical moment, he bravely stepped forward again. I disagree. Our Zhao family has a total of 31 cultivators. Only 25 are present, unless everyone is present. Otherwise, I absolutely do not agree with this approach. Chen Sichuan and Wai Cheng exchanged glances. Wai Cheng's expression immediately changed. His foundation establishment aura fully unleashed. Filled with murderous intent, he charged at Zhao Jinding and demanded, you really want to object? Saying this misstatement, he was ready to kill him mercilessly. Zhao Jinding finally hesitated. Then, Zhao Yingang turned and walked to the main branch of the main household, arrogantly saying, anyone willing to choose me as the head of the family, past grudges are not pursued at all. From now on, everyone should work together in one place. Items in the storage pouch will also be fairly distributed among everyone. If you don't want to, after confiscating everything, they were expelled from the house. Go be a wandering and homeless person, a rogue cultivator who can't even get a glimpse of his mortal family. Those who are willing may stand behind me. The words fell. The main branch looked at each other, but no one dared to speak. But soon, two unstable men moved forward. His head was almost down to the ground. He didn't dare look at the clan members beside him. Gradually, the main branch became less and fewer. In the end, only 4 people remained. Zhao Jinding, Zhao Chongwei, and me. At that moment, I stood at the very front. Oh, I don't care who in the Zhao family is in charge, but they couldn't just stand by and watch the Zhao family be toyed with by outsiders. After earnestly bowing to the 2 foundation establishment cultivators, I spoke. Xingye Chen, old ancestor Wai, I wholeheartedly agree with the proposal of the 2 seniors, because this matter was too rushed. Could you give us a little privacy? Let's discuss it with both families. If we can negotiate and succeed, your Zhao family wouldn't have gotten this far. Children don't struggle pointlessly. Come over here. Ai Cheng shook his head as he spoke. A look of contempt flashed in his eyes from time to time. I only need 15 minutes. When the time comes, whatever the outcome, and I'm willing to hand over my storage pouch. Zhao Jinfu no longer recognized the Zhao family, but after all, he carried the blood of the Zhao family. If he knew he had left, someone immediately overturned his decision. I don't think he'll be happy. The Fulong Wei family surely wouldn't stand idly by. I'll give you 15 minutes to discuss it. Brother Wai, let's go. At this point, Chen Sichuan couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore. He directly commanded Wai Cheng and waited at Tongxin Hall. As soon as the door closed, Zhao Jinggang looked completely unconcerned and said impatiently, if you have something to say it quickly. Overall situation seemed settled, but then something unexpected happened. This made him very annoyed. He began to think about how to make things difficult for me in the future. I smiled indifferently. The moment he spoke, everyone's expressions changed. Have you forgotten about Longli Lake? There are less than 10 years left on the lease. Zhao Yingang saw the crowd lose their morale. He forced himself to cheer up. You don't have to worry. After I establish my foundation, he will definitely persuade Senior Chen to ask him to mediate on his behalf. I don't think the Xiang sect would do that. that. I laughed. You can guarantee you will succeed in building your foundation. You can guarantee that Chen Zia can reach the level of ancestor Han. Being everyone thoughtful, I am passionate about the iron. He took out a jade pill bottle from his storage pouch. He poured out a round pill from inside, a pill emitting a faint green glow. Before leaving, Zhao Jinfu had done a good deed. He exchanged a low-grade foundation establishment pill from the Xiang sect to keep for the Zhao family. Right now, we have 2 foundation establishment pills in hand. The fairest approach is for each branch to give 1 coin. Coincidentally, each of our 2 branches has a qi refining grand perfection stage. This way, there's no need to argue. With that, the Zhao family suddenly understood. They all looked at the clan elders, Zhao Jinding and Zhao Jingang. Zhao Yingang thought for a moment. He shook his head in doubt. To improve the success rate of foundation establishment, it's best to give 2 foundation establishment pills to only 1 person. He smiled slightly. I knew second grandpa's suggestion was correct. The key issue is that there wasn't enough time. After I reminded them, everyone suddenly understood. You have to know qi refining great perfection advances to foundation establishment. Cultivating a realm is no easy feat. Once foundation establishment fails, one's vitality will be severely damaged. Even 10 years might not be enough to recover. Zhao Yingang suddenly felt a stir in his heart. The next moment, he suddenly spoke. I suggest that Zhang Yi temporarily assume the position of head of the family, waiting until someone succeeded in establishing a foundation. Switch to another place and you'll find Quan. Since the position of family head has now become a useless position, Zhao Yingang simply retreated. He took the initiative to push Zhao Chonghe onto the platform. Anyway, Zhao Chong and the young man had nothing to do with him. Prestige is just a decoration. Soon, some people think fast. The clansman's eyes slowly lit up. Reach a consensus. In the end, Zhao Zhending actually agreed. I was a bit stunned at that moment. No one expected Zhao Jingang to come up with such a wild move, and surprisingly, it gained the approval of most people. Since becoming the head of the family, I've been trying to take it step by step, resolving the separation and conflicts between the 2 rooms. And the first thing I do is make a proposal. Raise you with the clan members' spirit stipends for the past 2 years. Zhao Jinfu left behind a storage pouch that was left behind outside the foundation establishment pill and the treasure void talisman. There were also some mid and lower grade spirit stones, 2 magic weapon pills and other treasures, and the 31 cultivators of the Zhao family for a year. The spirit combined was only a little over 700 spirit stones. I see it very clearly. The reason the Zhao family ended up like this, he said it was all because of poverty. So you have to find ways to increase income and cut costs, sir. I sighed inwardly. He couldn't help but think of the herb garden on the shady side of Tianzhu Mountain. Now is not the time. At the very least, he would have to wait until he advanced to mid-stage qi refining. That's when I tried to get in. I still vividly remember the profound lessons from my past life. Never underestimate the dangers of the land of death. 3 days later, in a talisman-making room in the Zhao clan's Dahe courtyard, I stood seriously in front of a wooden table with a satirical wood expression. He held a first-grade, mid-grade brocade fox talisman brush. The brush moved smoothly like a dragon, and snake drawing the spring breeze nourishing talisman. And only a few strokes remained. I felt the spiritual power on the tip of my pen suddenly become chaotic. Blue light flickered on the talisman paper. At that moment, a divine light surged in my eyes. Bullet time suddenly activated. In a flash, the world seemed to come to a standstill. Time was drastically stretched. Everything became incredibly slow. With the time being stretched, I was able to calmly mobilize my spiritual power within my body. This makes their output more stable. Adjust the thickness and density of each strip evenly. Consistent spirit patterns emerged from the tip of the pen. The talisman quickly returned to normal. In the blink of an eye, I suddenly stopped my talisman brush. The surface of the talisman paper instantly glowed with intelligence. The spring breeze and rain talisman was formed. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. My path of cultivation gradually got on track. Besides 6 hours of cultivation and 2 hours of sleep, handling miscellaneous tasks every day, I devoted all my energy to talisman making. Because of bullet time assistance, my talisman making skills quickly improved from proficient to proficient. He then advanced from proficiency to proficient. In just 3 days, the success rate of the first tier spring breeze rain talisman is as high as that. It raised from 30 to 90. Half a month later, the success rate of the spring breeze rain talisman reaches 100. I quickly abandoned it. Focus your energy on the more profitable invisibility charms. 10 days later, talismans were made within the chamber. I focused intently, holding the talisman brush, writing on the paper with a dragon-like stroke. Gradually, the invisibility talisman patterns began to outline, and the last stroke is done. Suddenly, the surface of the talisman paper radiated a surge of spiritual light. Threads of spiritual light wandered unpredictably within the spirit patterns. Soon, the spiritual light disappeared. Only a dusty first-tier talisman remained on the table. Seeing this, I couldn't help but smile and sighed. Finally, it happened. 10 days. I spent nearly 200 sheets of talisman paper before I could finish. He barely managed to draw the invisibility talisman. This was only achieved thanks to the boost of bullet time. At this moment, a flustered figure suddenly burst in me. The visitor's expression was unusual. As soon as he entered, he shouted that something had happened. No one knew what had gone wrong. Jade Elixir Pavilion, Beiliang Fang, Han Fenglan family, the entire white family of Lishan sent Lingju back, and they said they won't buy from us anymore. You have to know the Zhao family's greatest source of wealth is various spirit fish and shrimp produced in Longley Lake. It is especially famous for its red carp and green carp. The meat of both types of spirit fish was fresh and rich in spiritual energy. Not only can it nourish the physical body of the cultivator, it can also dispel the fire within cultivators. In the cultivation world, weapon refiners and alchemists are known for their professional characteristics. Years of exposure to various spiritual fires. Over time, the physical body inevitably suffers. The fire energy overflowing from the spirit fire dispersed corroded him. At this moment, the spirit fish rich in water element spiritual energy. It has become an excellent remedy for resolving internal heat. Therefore, the spirit spirit fish meat produced by the Zhao family is very popular. Over the past 300 years, it has made a name for itself within 1,000 miles. We have secured a group of stable major clients. However, today, all the major clients were actually in sync, completely refused to accept the spirit fish. For the turbulent Zhao family, this was nothing short of a disaster. An hour later, Yoge Tsushima Lake Heart Hall, Rear Hall, Council Hall, in front of a huge black round table over 20 square meters. Sitting there was me and Nine Jin. 2 generations of Zhao clan members were examined. If there were a new major buyer, we found it 100 years earlier. Now I look again. One word. Someone said, at worst we can sell a little loose. Let's drag things out for a while. Let's see if things can turn around. After all, the family had just made some surplus enough to last for a year or so. I spoke directly. Everyone present is my elder. What I'm saying is wrong in a moment. I kindly asked the elders to point out the details. First of all, we need to clarify one issue. In this matter, who is our friend? Jade Elixir Pavilion. Balian Workshop our enemy? No, they are not enemies. Because even if the Zhao family ultimately falls, they also don't gain much benefit. So who are our enemies? Who ultimately gains the greatest benefit? Whoever is our enemy is. At this moment I sped up my speech and said the spirit fish was withdrawn. It's not just our Zhao family whose interests are harmed, and our long-standing customers, though someone must have offered even greater benefits. For example, the promise that after the Zhao family's downfall, empty talk, like the price of Lingju will drop significantly. This issue is actually quite easy to solve. Since they refused, we decided not to sell it for now, and do it for a few months first. No foundation establishment cultivators were stationed there. No matter what the family does externally, their reactions all seem uncertain. So the best choice is not to have any extreme reactions. Everything is as it is. Try to delay as much as possible. It wouldn't be too late to decide after the 2 elders emerged from seclusion. For the next half month I buried myself in hard training, while fully working on drawing invisibility talismans. At this point, I'd already vaguely guessed who was orchestrating all of this behind the scenes. Most likely it was that old fox Wei Cheng. The reason Wei Cheng wanted to drive the Zhao family to their death wasn't just aimed at the Zhao family cultivators. More importantly, it was for the Zhao family's 50,000 mortal relatives. I don't have any good solutions for this. He could only respond to every move. The key to breaking this deadlock lies in this. Can the 2 elders successfully establish their foundation?